My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft.
All right, stalking with the City of Ontario. License 9PHB 565 and 8VSS 692 at Fern Avenue and F Street. The fake sun is in alignment with me while I am on. First of all, it's rising where the TABOR building is, the TABOR professional building is, and that's where the fake moon. That's where the entity kept the light source at night. That's where the light source is in the morning. Where I go to sleep and where I wake up is where the center of the universe is at, where the entity is engaging in a bunch of demons stalking one person. It's very, very highly unintelligent. Okay, it's just high level of obsession, low level of intelligence. Very obvious for any federal agency to identify a state targeting an American citizen. The entity is gang stalking with the maintenance of the fake sun, and this is how you get prosecution for federal group stalking and monitoring where you live. You don't have any shelter. At 611 Fern Avenue, the entity stalking with the maintenance of ongoing plane roaring. So like last night, stalking, monitoring me with the ongoing activity of firecrackers. Every time I make a move, the sound of, and remember, it's just the sound of that. It's demonic. Okay, you don't have to have an actual helicopter around you to have the sound of helicopter activity. These are demons. It's demonic activity. This is an entity in need of literally like the Ghostbusters. These are demons. They're mentally ill. License 5VQD662. And you're just surrounded with noise while you're being monitored. And it's pursuant to stalking. Okay, so in order to follow you around and keep noise ongoing, you have to be stalking somebody. All right, so that's what the entity is doing with Planet. Roaring plane activity, all the streets. Now that I'm walking in the morning, this is what the entity is doing last night with the sound of firecrackers. So a bunch of stalkers, a bunch of demons consumed with one person. This is the mental illness of a whole population that the world needs to know about. Okay, and they're doing it when they're not. Satan is and the demon possessed seek to do this. And let's be clear, the government intends to do this where you don't have any knowledge of it. That is gone. So now you get to see bare bones mental sickness because they're doing it in front of the whole world, and they're not accomplishing any of the objectives. And one of the main ones is secrecy. That's where Satan has power, is in the darkness, in secrecy. That's gone, and I intentionally shattered that. Okay, so the entity is just engaged in straight up stalking. All right, straight up and down stalking. 5JHD916. You know that that's not a fire department, that they're stalkers. That's not an airport, they're stalkers. They're not conducting actual business, and they're stalking. They're engaged in the most absurdly demented forms of stalking one person. It's not a police department, they're stalking. Okay? And that's the point. License plate 8EBL297. Going to this fake church, St. George, which is a facilitating venue. I've already documented the Ontario Police Department gang stalking me, flying over the demons at this fake church in a circle. In the middle of the afternoon as well. That's how you have the evidence of stalking with the fake sun that's over this fake church, St. George, where this demon drives into the parking lot monitoring me. It's also, how you know that it's a fake church. The demons are congregating there together. It's a spirit. 6XVF007. 6HJG327. Yeah, my shadow appearing in the shade. So this person has large hedges, and there's no sun under there, obviously, but my shadow's still moving inside of where there's no light in there. So that's speaking to the presence of engineered light. Okay, so you are adjusting your eyesight and paying attention to what you're looking like, where it looks like there's no light, and there is light because, and it's light that's impossible to naturally occur. It's supernatural, it's demonic. MMCB is currently 6:47 a.m. And by the way, it is Sunday, July 6, 2025. And the entity is still gang stalking. As the environment remains the same, my shadows appearing on both sides of my person, appearing in the shade. While demons are not engaged in traffic, they're engaged in systematic presence, stalking in the path. All of them aware of where I'm at, tracking my steps, which is gang stalking, and it's demonic. License TO91TO. 7AQE900. 6MNB837. 17804V2. A demon meeting at D Street in Fern. License plate. Fake sun is over me while they're crossing path. License plate. 6AFW754. You need to understand that this is the government. That's how they're going to be prosecuted as well. They're unintelligent third parties, but that's what happens. So then you have the demons that get bullied by the person that they were supposed to overwhelm because of numerosity. More demons are supposed to equal a whole bunch of smart people. That's the delusional mindset of a bunch of inferior demon-possessed imps. And so then you have the uniformed imps admit to stalking me by engaging in criminal summoning from one place after another, and they're going straight to prison. License 5NDW883, and I'm referring to the stalkers of the Ontario Police Department who are going to federal prison because they're still stalking right now. As the people of the state are stalking, they're doing so because the government's still monitoring. So I want to be clear, Mike LORENZ still is engaging in criminal conduct, which he is also witnessing being published on the internet, and that did not disincentivize the criminal engagement in stalking an American citizen. And that's also why they're being disbanded. And every single last one that engaged in kidnapping, every single gang stalking fake officer is going to prison. 8RQZ297, 7TCM598, 6NMV661. Everything that I'm documenting is getting right to that objective because that's exactly what's going to happen. 6MJW972. And what you need to be mindful of, cognizant of, is how many other people they have bullied, how many other people have they kidnapped, how many other people have they defamed, how many people have they murdered. License 6HTV411, 9AHU467, 9082F, 9082F2, 7SPL531. And these little demon-possessed gang stalkers in the city of Ontario, they bear false witness, they support it, they get away with it. And then they have this false sense of power because, they don't speak about this, but this is the entity that's gang stalking together because the police are supposed, man, the police that show up are going to prison. You're going to prison. Everybody that comes around engaging in criminal summoning can go to prison. That's what's going to happen. There is no sense of, they're not protecting anybody. Everybody's incriminated. They're all being investigated. They're all being prosecuted. They're imbeciles. They literally cannot even understand what's happening to them. They're delusional. And this is how you get a 7-minute video published on the internet about clearly who is permitting this police department to engage in this young lady documenting this ongoing harassment with helicopter. Who is permitting this? How is this happening day in and day out? Who is making the decisions here? That's how you get that. License 8LHC38832, stalking. Sex offender. As soon as I start walking in the street doing something different. 7N71178, 7NQU614, 5CPF621, 5CPF621, 96787W3, 4WDH556. 7P50814, 8BVK645. 5LHY791. DE55U11, that's a paper plate. 8GUC058. Oh, okay, so when I start recording the ongoing incessant plane rumblings, now that stops. All right, this is P.O.C. I've already established that the entity is a stalker and not a bright one. 5NLL334, the people of the state are maintaining the elements of monitoring, as is clearly proven. They're stalking me where they live because the entity is engaged in ongoing monitoring. And I'll show you the fake sun while I'm now at what is C Street and Fern Avenue. At 401, this would be 401 C Street, West C Street. And it is 6:52 a.m. License 8VAJ980, 9GDF621, 7XDY683, 9GPW387, license plate 8CZP049, 6CQW375, even though that looks kind of abandoned, 7PNU350, 9CEJ791, 6HZH815, 8PLB284, 7YPZ596, 8HJV016, 8LOF261, 4FPP698, 88972W2, It's hilarious. As soon as I stop recording, the entity resumes sounding plane activity. And that's because my voice is audible noise. 8WYH469, 9JLU348. And it's also because they're absolute cowards. Like I said, they're pussycats. 4RPL496, 4PRY582. And then when they provide me direct evidence of stalking in commercial planes like Southwest Airlines is doing this morning, They're hovering over. Clearly, there's no takeoff from any terminals. You can look at the terminals where Southwest Airlines maintains flights that are published online. And I guarantee you the gang stalking flights that Southwest Airlines is used to engage in is not published online, because they're not taking off from either terminals hovering over this direction, northwest from the 2500 Airport Drive and 2900 Airport Drive. Southwest Airlines is going to be prosecuted for domestic terrorism. License 9PCM330. 9PNL 704, 8PQX 527, excuse me, 8P, what is this? Yeah, that's 8PDX 527, 7UKP 415, 7D, NL 626, 6CLJ 856, 1633, hold on, 1633, 9F2, 8SYL 110. Yeah, this little fake church over here, they're definitely gang stalking. Bunch of Spanish-speaking demons. 6RTU 276, 5NHN 838, excuse me, 7YZN 148, 8H1Z 840, 7AVM 077. The parking coordinator is in the middle of the parking lot monitoring in the church parking lot. That's a demon. And that's a fake church. Satan has fake churches as well. He's a wannabe god. License 96312C1. And by fake churches too, let me clarify, the true church of the Lord Jesus Christ is not engaged in the demonic conduct of gang stalking. But I mean, Satan has people congregating in his name. 7ZYN385, even while they refer to him deceptively by Jesus, the name of Jesus. They don't worship Jesus. 7XFZ273. And you know them by their deeds. License 8AAL905. 6TBG821. And this is Holt and Vine. This is currently, let me see, 6:57 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, the mentally ill that are going to be removed from the medical profession, they are currently in positions stalking, gang stalking in ambulances. That's what American Medical Response is engaged in. The demon-possessed engaging in state surveillance by operating ambulance vehicles. And the entity is engaging in what is very heavily and disturbed stalking, which you've already seen. You've seen them stalking at Starbucks under the fake sun and engineer light that fills that Starbucks cafe. And that is the federal RICO case against the Starbucks Corporation, by the way. But the entity has the fake sun where AMR, just as one example, is gang stalking me, not focused on purchasing drinks. They happen to be engaging in purchasing drinks as they engage in the elements of monitoring under the fake sun, which is in the middle of the day. Remember, 9500 Edwanda Avenue. San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department is competing with what AMR is doing at 507 North Euclid Avenue under the fake sun. But nonetheless, this is AMR that are demons stalking. And their mental illness is exhibited, and that's why they're disqualified from being in the medical profession, even driving ambulances, having any access to those who are vulnerable in need of medical assistance. Where they're gang stalking, they're engaged in all manner of creating that sort of harm and potential to harm and the inclination to harm, where you're engaging in what is stalking somebody using that ambulance. That's not even remotely close to what they're supposed to be focused on and engaging in. And the entity is always supposedly engaging in an emergency. An emergency occurs as I engage in new movement and activity. And this morning, it's occurring as I deviate from walking on the sidewalk to observing one of the restaurants inside of the Ontario Village Shopping Center. which is where the entity has the fake sun as well, which is how you're getting to the analysis of gang stalking by American Medical Response, which has already been established in evidence pre-existing 2025. It's as a matter of 2018, 2019. And the entity begins sounding sirens briefly, just bleeping them, and then crossing path, coming out of nowhere, meaning they were already stalking, sitting around on a corner like AMR does, like the fire departments do, and like the police department does. Sitting around, creeping, while the people of the state are not engaging in traffic. They're stalking with light. And then they engage in criminal summoning based on whatever it is that triggers the demons to surround with audible activity. And they're doing so pursuant to monitoring me. And the entity is engaging in criminal summoning using American Medical Response that's driving east on Hope Boulevard, crossing path with me, exhibiting demon possession while they're engaging in what is very demonic. And it's also a threat to the public while demons are engaging in EMT services, driving ambulances on the roads and the highways. And they're engaging in this highly mentally deranged criminal conduct. Engaging in psychological torture is diametrically opposed with providing medical services, compassionate services, and attention to people. The two do not go together at all. 8KFOW49, 6SFY 797. An engineer light on the passenger side on the sidewalk in front of that vehicle while they're stalking me. They're doing so with, again, the city of Ontario. The fake sun is right over the Ontario Village Shopping Center on the side that I'm at 7:06 a.m., which is how you know that this is all stalking. And it's, again, a population exhibiting severe mental illness as one, gang stalking together. This is where you'll see that image captured at 7:06 a.m. That's where AMR is stalking, American Medical Response. And the most recent example of them gang stalking is entering into the Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue that committed kidnapping on July 4th, 2025, and engaged in what is ongoing harassment and threats to kidnap with an intent to obstruct justice. The same Starbucks Corporation at 706 West Hope Boulevard yesterday, July 5th, 2025. American Medical Response is documented engaging in state surveillance inside of that 507 North Euclid Avenue, and it's evidence against Starbucks, the corporation. I'm going to prosecute as a third party, but I'm going to prosecute the state of California with that evidence. The city of Ontario is providing evidence with regard to its prosecution of a federal RICO while the government is engaging in state surveillance, which using corrupt companies like Starbucks that's literally it's a slam dunk case. The case is complete. You're looking at what they're doing, gang stalking me. The fire department, AMR, they're there in the middle of the afternoon. The fire department's there 7 o'clock in the morning, stalking under the fake sun. The Ontario police are there all day long, stalking in the morning, 6:33 a.m. Corey Watson and his female partner. They're there in the middle of the afternoon, 2:47 p.m. C. Torres, both of those kidnappers, and present in the evening, after 6 in the evening, stalking by helicopter while the fake sun's still over that same address. Where the entity is embedded into that pattern of conduct is the purchase of drinks of Starbucks, literally while they prepare them, literally while they're in that cafe, literally while the cafe is the basis of the crime scene under the fake sun. It is going to be the prosecution for a federal RICO case, and the entity that's very fearful of that starts engaging in kidnapping again, which is a pattern of conduct also by Starbucks. All right, it is a federal RICO case, including violating the laws for kidnapping me. Not only as a whistleblower, but kidnapping, period, while you're engaged in gang stalking. It's a very severe federal case. And that's what is crossing paths, still gang stalking and still stalking in helicopters and still stalking with light, while the city of Ontario is going to, the state of California, including the idiots of the city of Ontario. This demon can't seem to get enough. Let me document him again. 63953F3, driving an Escalade. This is a Latino male wearing a fake gold chain, a heavy dark mustache on his lip. This is the third time he's pacing. You'll see him in images at Holt and Vine. He's crossing path again after AMR is stalking with sirens, and he's driving back again now with engineer light all around his dated Escalade truck. This is, again, P.O.C. These are the sex offenders. These are the criminals. These are the weirdos that are engaging in gang stalking. He has nothing to do at 7 in the morning, going back and forth, stalking. And that's exactly what he's doing, because that's why he has engineer light. All right, it's directly rebutting the fact that you're minding your business in the engineer light and under the fake sun. That's the evidence of stalking. The gang stalkers do engage in traditional stalking. When I'm documenting gang stalking and I get the same stalkers, that's following me around. and they engage in that as well. And they'll be prosecuted because there's a body of evidence. It's all going to be addressed. 5 TWG 785, it's an unlawful threat by a population. 7 DVB 158. Stalking in the vehicle, creating activity, cutting off my path. This is what I documented yesterday en route to Starbucks. License plate. Engineer light across the Stater Brothers, 9 PGC 193. All right, Stater Brothers has the fake sun over this parking lot. I've been documenting them for years. Stater Brothers has the fake sun over this parking lot at 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, documenting sunset conduct. This is P.O.C, and I'm on the surveillance cameras. And Starbucks, excuse me, yes, Starbucks is monitoring as well, but Stater Brothers is aware because they're monitoring, know exactly who I am as I enter the store and everything that I'm doing while they're engaged in surveillance as a corrupt business. And they're also based in San Bernardino. San Bernardino's a gang stalker, just so you know. P.O.C. Excuse me. What's the code again?
9278.
I'm sorry? Thank you. Thank you. All right, that is the maintenance of activity around the bathrooms. That's tracking your steps, and that's relevant to the sex offense committed by the entity. And it's obvious also when they're stalking you step by step that it's going to stop at the bathroom. So I'm just stating the entity is, again, surrounded with evidence, direct evidence of stalking in bathrooms, and it's also common sense and what logically follows. You're chasing down in police vehicles, fire department vehicles, ambulances, monitoring with planes, under a fake sun, stalking with engineer light, and then all of a sudden in the bathroom like you're not going to be found out as a sex offender. This is the delusional psychopath that's engaged in monitoring in bathrooms. It is currently 7:18 a.m. All right, bathroom monitoring, which is a very demented and perverted pattern of conduct practiced by every corrupt business that's engaging in state surveillance. You need to understand the implications of this pattern of conduct. The businesses in the state of California that are monitoring, that is stalking American citizens, keeping them under surveillance with the government, they engage in this in their bathrooms, which are private spaces, and they do so with regard to embedding it into whatever the business of that company is. This is the businesses engaging in sexual violence. This is relevant to, again, the RICO case and the laws that they are violating while they're engaging in the P.O.C. This is how you're prosecuting. The entity places, as you can hear, he places a male into the male restroom. That's for relevant positioning, while the female that's already in position is maintaining activity, crossing path as coming out there, engaging in this P.O.C. And what are the demons outside doing? Stalking in planes and helicopters, monitoring my vagina, engaging in surveillance in their vehicles, monitoring my vagina, stalking and having engineer light swiping all across the building while my vagina is exposed, and they're all mutually aware of it under the fake sun that's over me while they're monitoring my vagina. This is what the sex offense committed by the government, gang stalking in the name of Stater Brothers at 646 West Hope Boulevard. Well, I will show you the fake sun right now where the entity is engaging in that sex offense. This is Maria Escobar. This is the so-called store manager. She's a third party. And while the entity monitors and keeps my evidence under surveillance, this is where the entity engages in kidnapping. This is why they're going to federal prison as well. It's obstruction of justice while they engage in criminal surveillance. It is currently, as my receipt shows, 7:23 a.m. and capturing sex offenders monitoring with the demons stalking me with light. 6FEL648, they're all monitoring my vagina. That's impossible light activity. Where you're engaging in what is the sex offense, engaging in surveillance relevant to that sexually violent pattern of conduct. And that's by the company, and then you're going to prosecute the employees of that company. And then you're getting to, and that's the people of the state because they're vicariously acting, and you're prosecuting the government under all circumstances. All right, so this sex offender that's following me back and forth and going nowhere, coming, stalking at the traffic light, crossing path, driving out of the plaza, and then coming back to enter into the plaza because he wants to monitor my vagina in the Ashley Escobar 63953F3 with the fake gold chain and the heavy black mustache, coming back to partake in the sex offense of monitoring my vagina. Okay, this Latino male in this Escobar, excuse me, in this Escalade EXT is monitoring my vagina as well, and this is relevant to the incalculable and level of harms, the unprecedented violation of privacy by businesses and by the entity, all right? You're going to prosecute for that. And then corrupt businesses like Starbucks have the audacity to engage in kidnapping. You're going to prison for that. So I'm just breaking down what they do, and this is why you're going to federal prison, honey. You're going straight to federal prison. License, 8KVA 443. Driving into Starbucks replete with engineered light while they turn their vehicle into a parking spot. This is the documentation of what is audible activity under the sound of the train. Okay, the entity sounds train everywhere in the city of Ontario. In the same way, the entity is stalking with helicopter everywhere in the city of Ontario. The entity is stalking with commercial planes that are taking off everywhere in the city of Ontario. The entity is stalking with a fake sun everywhere. It's rising and remaining everywhere all day in the city of Ontario. This is the unintelligent system of gang stalking. And the entity that is gang stalking is engaged in what is the sex offense that is monitoring my vagina. And its obsession with my vagina is why a lot of people are going to federal prison, and they're going to walk away with a permanent record of as a sex offender, and that's going to permanently alter the trajectory of their life as well as a terrorist. Okay, this is unprecedented sexual violence. This is just being placed on Megan's list. Okay, which is serious enough, but I mean, this is Department of Justice sex offenders that are going to be maintained and known with regard to what they engaged in as an entity, failing it and taking this one out. It is currently 7:27 a.m. This is bathroom monitoring, P.O.C. Oh, let me document 6ZNA 153. All right, also monitoring my vagina. The sex offender 30495D3. All the sex offenders inside of Miss Donuts at 656 West Holt Boulevard. They're gang stalking. We have any gang stalking immigrants engaging in the sex offensive monitoring with the government in bathrooms. Deportation is the key. 78XC 701 48403B4 4U98389. 06664A4 7P48492 03179G2 7J10398 9TBT936 6DYP098 52827K3. This and many more, monitoring my vagina all together. 7FFX326 7CIN016 8LAG196 9PEB724 7VZH046 8CHA395 77019W3. All right. In case you didn't know, the average person is a sex offender while they're gang stalking as a population. 7XSM690. It's a sex offender molesting with light that's not ricocheting off of your 1999 vehicle under the fake sun that's off the opposite end of this shopping plaza. That's a stalker. That's also monitoring my vagina. It's just driving into relevant position. I'm just documenting those that are around me. The entity is engaging in an unprecedented sex offense. All right, it is currently 7:32 a.m. And this is why you're removing mayors. The mayor is a sex offender, and that secret's exposed. Everybody on the city council is a sex offender, and that secret is exposed. Everybody working at that city hall, they're sex offenders. And they get past background checks. And you deem them to be upright citizens that are qualified to work in particular positions. They're sex offenders. And that secret is exposed. The police department, you already know that they are. Okay, I honed in on that department. You know they're sex offenders. P.O.C. 7WAY 724. YNC 992. 5ZZH 275. 7DCE 109. 8RLC 080. And the entire Ontario Village Shopping Center. It's not based on the hours of the business. They're all being prosecuted. The sex offense underway at this venue. 5YCF 396. It is currently 7:34 a.m.
Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. All right, here's the city of Ontario stalking. Fake sun. That's Alaska Airlines. And that's pacing while they drive and engineer light under the fake sun. And that's the city of Ontario stalking. And while they're driving, engineer light on the ground, and they are targeting me in the shade where they stalking, touching, molesting with engineer light. That's how you know that they know me. They're not strangers. And you also know that they know me because the fake sun is over the village. Alaska Airlines is hovering over the Ontario Town Square like it's taking off over there. That's much more east. There's no terminals over here, in other words. This is where the entity is engaging in what is hours later, the Ontario International Airport under a fake sun that's over this parking lot throughout the day, stalking with the people. It is currently 7:38 a.m. That's the city of Ontario engaged in monitoring my vagina right here. Engineer light moving across the building while they're at a distance. P.O.C. 7MUX814. That's the entity that's engaged in the massive sex offense, and so is the business Stater Brothers. Okay, monitoring my genitalia while they're all together corporately engaging in that massive sex offense, identified in the way you just saw, and you're also witnessing the evidence of demon possession. All right, while criminal monitoring, federal stalking is underway. This is P.O.C. It is 7:38 a.m. All right, molesting me, harassment with impossible light, license, the same demon, 7XSM690, 9NPS480. You saw on video, well, you heard on the podcast, but Alaska Airlines, they're monitoring my vagina. The Ontario International Airport's monitoring my vagina, surely as you see the fake sun over the Stater Brothers, and that's how a federal RICO case, and that's how the people of the state engage in state surveillance and practicing demonic means of targeting someone and targeting their genitalia as well is going to be prosecuted, and those companies are going to be identified as not only terrorists but violent sex offenders, and that is also going to be bad for business, and that's if the Department of Justice even permits that business to continue. 9LVW604. P.O.C. Hitting me with engineer light while I'm documenting Maria Escobar, while I'm documenting the sex offenders Brian, while I'm documenting them engaging and monitoring my vagina. This is, again, the mental illness of the psychopaths who are all together targeting one person and engaging in violence as they are monitoring me and aware that they're being documented. This is Stater Brothers that's engaging in that violence, okay? This is the Ontario Village Shopping Center engaging in that violence, and it's the city of Ontario. It is currently 7:46 a.m. Okay, Southwest repeats the same. Southwest Airlines repeats the same, where there are no terminals and there's no takeoff over here, and there is also no sun. That's the crime scene and the easy, straightforward prosecution of every airline gang stalking with the Ontario International Airport, and doing so exhibiting. This is why gang stalking pilots are also going to be removed from the position to even have licensure. Their mental illness fully exhibited while they listen to their criminal conduct, and psychopaths engage in more of it. They become hostile and aggressive, and this is resulting, with regard to a prosecution, it's resulting in the heightening of federal charges. It's resulting in the escalation of a federal case as the
entity is already surrounded and is facing an inevitable demise, public exposure, which is very embarrassing. But understand the demented state of psychopaths who are demon possessed, and the way that their behavior is. This is how you're addressing their demon possession, through a federal prosecution and a diagnosis. Okay, the mentally disturbed behavior of stalking in a plane, number one, and then to engage in replicating it seconds later in the crime scene, which is fully known. And there's no mystery about what Southwest Airlines has been doing, especially when they're acting like they're taking off over the TABOR Professional Building, which is closer. The entity is flying farther away, more west, when you are already in a position. Documentation shows that you were taking off at a location east of this address. So in doing so seconds after I document, that's the demonic pattern of conduct of what is, again, engaging in kidnapping because I'm documenting you. That's the admission of surveillance. Engaging what is molestation via engineer light, that's the admission of surveillance. Engaging in what is flying over my head in circles by helicopter, again, as I document, that's the admission of surveillance. And it's also the behavior of mentally ill gang stalkers who are demon possessed. This is representing what is the public national concern. It's a public safety concern, while the demons are engaging in this targeting system. Okay, license 8RLC080. This is an old Caucasian male, covered in wrinkles and liver spots, and is touching me with engineered light. It is while stalking, okay, doing so where the Ontario International Airport is providing a basis of criminal facilitation. The reason why they're engaging in the asinine and obvious conduct that any federal agency can identify, because they are not engaging in hovering in when you're taking off from the terminals over the Ontario Village Shopping Center, or over the Ontario Town Square, or over the Woodside Senior Apartments, or over the OVITT Family Community Library as they migrate, as I go to the back parking lot, or when I'm at the TABOR Professional Building, at the 7-Eleven, all the places that I've documented, the Ontario Plaza on Mountain Avenue, while they're hovering over there, while they're engaging in doing donuts. None of this is taking off from, this is plain stalking, and they're doing it while they are being exposed for it. So the entity has engaged in targeting somebody that is prosecuting it. And they're doing it to the demise of that company, to the demise of the state, to the demise of the aviation industry. I want to be clear. It's because terrorism is underway in this manner, it's affecting everything. And so it's also going to affect the lives of those demons that are mentally unfit to be in that position to fly a plane. That is the type that flies into buildings in order to harm people. That's the type that flies into the sides of mountains in order to harm people. And they do so at the signal that when Satan gives them the sign, do it now. And that's exactly what they'll do. This is demon possession. This demon possession is inspiring what is a targeting system, gang stalking. All right. It is currently, again, where Southwest Airlines is engaging in the straightforward pattern of conduct. They're doing it under the fake sun. They're stalking. It is 7:50 a.m. at the Ontario Village Shopping Center, the Stater Brothers, P.O.C. Oh, that's captured in images, by the way, what I'm referring to. It'll be captured in images. Alrighty, at 8:03 a.m. you will see the fake sun at the same intersection that it is when I'm coming from Starbucks at 10 o'clock in the morning, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, when I'm exiting the OVITT Family Community Library at 6 p.m. This is where the fake sun is, at the same intersection at the Ontario Downtown Apartments, at the Wells Fargo, at C Street and Euclid. This is recognizing gang stalking. This is where the Ontario International Airport, they like to do donuts right here at this intersection under that afternoon fake sun. That's the evidence that you put together when you look at the big picture. 8YMJ 907. Everybody using the Wells Fargo bank teller machine is gang stalking. These demons think that they're clever because they make a purchase somewhere, that they're not going to be prosecuted, and that nobody sees them. And the goal is that not only do the feds see you, everybody sees you, Satan. All right, so the entity is engaged in this pattern of conduct, and this is the unintelligent system when you can put together the same location, and you're going to look at the sun at 7:50 in the morning, and you're going to look at that same intersection at 6:10 in the evening, and that's how you have the prosecution and what is federal prison for every gang stalking police officer that I documented. All right, gang stalking me at this venue. Because there's a lot of them. I'll leave you to think about it. I'll go ahead and let you think about that because it's already on the record. The entity's engaging in this P.O.C. and the evidence speaks for itself. It doesn't speak, it yells. It's screaming. Stalking from an alleyway, 7052060. And the entity is engaged to understand traffic is not traffic, that's surveillance. And they all know who I am. That's recognizing stalking. That's recognizing targeting. Okay, this old hillbilly is stalking with engineer light behind his multicolored Ford F-50. He's about 79 and a half years old. Okay, he's engaging in what is gang stalking, not because he's racist, but because he's a demon. He may have multiple demons. One of them may be the spirit of racism, but he's targeting as a demon-possessed third party who knows exactly who I am, while he's targeting with light that's not coming off of his old, aged vehicle with multicolored pearl green vehicle. 9TDD152, the same pattern of conduct under the fake sun that's now over the OVITT Family Community Library. Before 8 a.m. It's 8:03, excuse me. Yeah, before 9 a.m. it's 8:06 a.m. How was it over Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue? And how was the airport taking off here when you're east of the Stater Brothers parking lot? They just flew over. Alaska Airlines just hovered over like they were taking off. This is the unintelligent system of the demons that are exposing each other, okay? Billy Bob can't even walk, but he's got enough energy and vitality to gang stalk me. So he's got enough to go to prison as well, 9KHS271. There will be no difference in treatment. I don't care how old, how many liver spots, I don't care what handicap. Oh, I have anemia, you and your anemia is going to federal prison when you're gang stalking with the police, when you're gang stalking systematically, when you're gang stalking with that level of impunity that no federal government is going to nobody's going to stand for that. Nobody's going to accept that. It's impermissible. It's intolerable. Okay, so this is what the entity being at the same C Street turn circle. Those demons that are driving every time I come to the venue, multiple times a day, and they're driving in the turn circle, it's stalking. And all you do is look at that same venue, different faces, same thing driving at the turn circle, and look at the timestamp, okay? Because they're stalking. All right, it is currently again. Let me show you Billy Bob. This demon that's gang stalking. Can't even walk, but this is what Satan uses, any and everything. What you are also going to be, I'm capturing images of that. I'm at 215 East C Street. The entity has the fake sun here as I am arriving yesterday in the morning. Excuse me, I did not arrive. Oh, yes, I did. Yesterday was Saturday, the 5th. So I'm arriving after 10 after L. Edwards and a casada engaged in the documented federal offense of threatening to engage in a kidnapping, and you don't even have authority under the law. And the Ontario Police Department is being disbanded. They are being treated, they will be treated like the corrupt agency that has no authority that they are. They are currently engaging and conducting themselves as though they have authority, and they're going to be prosecuted for that. This is where the entity is engaging the P.O.C. at the Ontario City Hall, which is east of where they just engaged in what is a takeoff much more west over here, Alaska Airlines and Southwest. That's called audible activity under the fake sun. The fake sun's over the same address as I arrived. 3 hours, almost 2.5 hours. I arrive after 10 o'clock. The entity has the fake sun over the Starbucks then. That's what that means at 706 West Holt. And the video that I captured of Alaska Airlines gang stalking me while the fake sun's over the building of the Starbucks. It's not in the middle of the parking lot. It's not at over the Hope Boulevard at that Ontario Village shopping, that streetway. It's over me, over the building closest to where I am. That's how you identify a stalker flying a commercial plane. Also, because of the obvious scrutiny, there's anybody that can get into, like, literally, they know how they take off, they know the measurements, they can give you the ecological address, that sort of breakdown. You don't have to do that because it's very common sense, but that's also going to occur. The entity is surrounded with evidence. There's no plane activity you're going to hear. It's not going to be, I'm not going to be able to see the logo. It's not going to interfere with quiet enjoyment in apartment homes when they're taking off from the airport. All right, the entity is engaging in that and more, including just plain donuts, flying in alignment to me where my person is and then flying back in the opposite direction. That's also, again, stalking, very plain. But the entity entity is engaging in, and by plain I mean P-L-A-I-N, not P-L-A-N-E. Anyway, the entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct and doing so with regard to the ability of actual experts, which I'm just giving you ideas. That, you can have an expert come in court, and I'm going to let you know exactly what's going to be stated in a federal case. That there is no taking off from those terminals to justify what is hovering, as I document, over the Wood Sightseeing Apartments, over the TABOR Professional Building, over the Ontario Town Square, literally also the impropriety of hovering over senior citizen apartment complexes as well. They're hovering over the Ontario Town Square, which I have on video, and then west of this location, then they're hovering over the Ontario Village Shopping Center. So are you rising in elevation like you're taking off, and then you're going back down like they're doing donuts as well? They do that. So I guess they go up, and then they go back down again, and then they go up, and then they go back down again. I've never been on a plane that's doing that. They take off and they stay at that very high elevation. You could see everything from the sky space, and it's about 90 seconds for them to get very, very, very high. So like I said, that's very to the point. The entity is clearly stalking, and it's obvious evidence of targeting using planes, and that's relevant to the mental illness of those engaging in the targeting system. The entity is engaging in this under the fake sun that's at this same OVITT Family Community Library, the same entrance where I just captured Billy Bob under the fake sun, returning a book as the form of pacing, and he can't even walk. He can barely walk. None of this is relevant to what is the pattern of conduct at all. He is intentionally engaging in that. He can't walk, but he had engineer light flying backward toward me after he already drove by. That's a demon that knows who I am, and he is targeting in the same way that the City of Ontario provides evidence against him targeting me by flying over in a manner that is irreconcilable with taking off from the Ontario International Airport at 2500 Airport Drive, 2900 Airport Drive. This is the entity engaging in public corruption, gang stalking me together. And the ignoramuses gang stalking directly are presenting evidence against the ignoramuses gang stalking vicariously, and vice versa. Their criminal engagement in the pattern of conduct is literally incriminating each other. That's how the P.O.C. has worked. You can see them putting evidence out against each other. Okay, they're making each other look guilty after I've already proven they're stalking. All of them are stalking, and they're demons. All right, so anyway, just want to point that out to you because you could, upon your own observation, you'll see that. The entities engaging in, remember, OVITT Family Community Library, where I'm at now, 8:03, 8:06 a.m. is when I'm capturing these images. The entity has the fake sun still here. That would be 9, 10, 11, 12, 1. Remember, 1:07 p.m., the Ontario police are standing in a circle at the entrance, the same entrance where I just captured the fake sun at 8 o'clock in the morning. That's the prosecution of the Ontario Police Department for gang stalking. It's well beyond that, but you're surrounded with the hard evidence. You're going to federal prison. This is how an entity targets American citizens, psychologically tortures them, silently threatens them in a way when, absent the evidence, remember, remove all the evidence that I have, and somebody else, the ordinary target individual, that has no evidence, and they're just like, the police are targeting me, they're threatening me, they're following me around, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. And you saw what the Ontario Police Department did. They didn't even say a word. They got in their vehicles, they looked like they had no idea what was going on. Straight face got in their vehicles, the female turned her vehicle lights on, and they drove off. All of that's light activity, all of it's relevant positioning, all of it's under the fake sun, and all of it is relevant to what is the malicious pattern of conduct that you are looking right at it, but you don't even know what you're looking at. And that targeted individual is falsely depicted as being mentally ill, and they are not. They're not. That's how the pattern of conduct, their pattern of conduct is supposed to appear on the surface. They're creating the illusion. These are demons, witches and warlocks, and they're not intelligent. As I'm breaking down, it's just demonic. So I'm breaking through all these demonic and psychopathic tactics of targeting people that don't have the ability, because it's not the wherewithal, it's not a matter of their intelligence. It's just that it's entirely demonic. So yeah, there's a level of illusions that Satan is playing with, and I want to make sure that you see those. And it's right in front of your face, because Satan is not clever. He is not a rocket scientist. He is not. A fake sun over one address for 12 hours. Are you kidding me? Everybody sees that. All I'm doing is opening your eyes. That is psychological torture. And I mean it with every fiber in my being. They're going to federal prison. That is what's kidnapping people. That's what's bearing false witness in court, stating that somebody committed a crime that they did not commit. Taking the lives of American citizens, murdering them, stating, oh, I had to because they were attacking. I felt attacked, and I felt the need at that moment that I needed to protect myself and protect my partner. And then these gang stalking courts support it. And then you'll have these demons who are the people that say, oh yeah, I saw it. Absolutely. They did. And you know what? They have a reputation of that. You know, they're always attacking my kids. I'm always worried about their safety. You know, it's not just me and all, but these are the demons. They're gang stalking. This is what happens. This is public corruption. And I'm just giving you an example, just off the top of my head. You're going to federal prison for wearing a badge and engaging in federal group stalking monitoring. There's no negotiation. There will be no negotiation with terrorists. They're going to federal prison. And the evidence of the son being over this same address at 8 o'clock in the morning, and so it's just sitting there until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So what about the state of Florida? What is there? What's going on there? Well, the Miami-Dade Police Department comes to question, okay? Their sheriff's department out there. What are they doing under the necessarily fake son? Okay, so this is again letting you know the federal government does have probable cause. You are being provided a wealth of probable cause in many manners, many manners. With regard to unveiling surveillance, all right? Anyway, it is currently 8:16 a.m. where the fake son is over 215 E.C. Street. Where the entity keeps and my documentation from 2000, I mean, it's laid out. I have the entity keeping the fake son, not even consistent, because the entity used to keep the fake son. Right now it's over the building of OVITT where I'm at. The entity kept the fake son because it wanted to face me. It would keep it over the opposite side, so over the senior center. So I would capture pictures and videos of the fake son being it's still over me, but it would be where you could see it. Now for me to capture it right now, it's at the same location, but I have to come outside and get it over the top of the building over my head, as opposed to what the entity would do. And you'll see that documentation in 2019, 2020, 2021. The entity engaged in what is all manner of flip-flopping what is a fake son all over the place. And it's laughable. This is Tracy Banks' co-defendant. It's laughable. This is her co-defendant. She has no hope. She never did. There is no hope in Satan. And the Lord Jesus does not hear the wicked. He's not hearing you. All right? There's no hope. I'm here to prosecute you and I'm here to expose you. And that's exactly what's happening. And while you continuously engage in criminal conduct, you are making your own poor prospects even worse. And they're already very, very bad, because terrorism in the United States is not tolerated. And once it's proven domestic terrorism in the United States, guess what? It's not tolerated. The entity is engaging in this P.O.C. under the fake son that's remaining. And what do you think is remaining when I'm arriving at 1 o'clock in the afternoon? What is remaining when I'm exiting at 6 o'clock in the evening? I'll wait. What do you call that? The fake real son? It's appropriately referred to as the fake son. It's the identification of a crime scene. And who's providing a wealth of evidence against itself? The airport, the police department, the fire department, the population. They're all providing evidence against themselves. They literally have provided what is a tutorial. And all I do is hold up my camera and let these demons show you themselves, because they're fools. It is currently 8:18 a.m. It's Sunday, July 6, 2025 at 215 E.C. Street in Ontario, California, where the population is stalking me. I'm at the library and they're all centering their attention on me. How often I breathe, what am I eating, what am I opening up, what am I looking at on the internet, how am I moving, what direction am I facing, how many times am I blinking, am I holding my breath, if I'm licking my lips, if I put my hand in my pocket, if I'm moving my toe in my shoe, all of that. P.O.C. FED 743. It's 9:21 a.m. 7FGN 059. Molesting with impossible light while I'm walking in the shade. License 9NPZ 882. The same. All right. Different races, different vehicles, separate people. Same POC. 7XQP117. And the entity sounding plane activity as I walk, deviate from where the demons are maintaining heavy surveillance on the main street. So as I walk off of that main street, the entity sounds amplified. This sounds as a helicopter activity. So I'm going to document the entity that's gang stalking at OVITT. It includes Allied Universal, license 9LVN926. Looks like an African-American male. He is monitoring with the City of Ontario. That's the company and the third party operating. That's two third parties. Understand how you're going to prosecute with regard to a federal RICO case. The entity is engaging in this while the fake son's remaining over me. And I'm at the same OVITT Family Community Library. Yeah. This demon is playing R&B, 90s R&B, while he's gang stalking me under the fake son. It's currently, by the way, 12:39 p.m. He's in a black Tesla. I'm going to read this license plate right now. and he is stalking on the job, that employer is going to be prosecuted. Allied Universal is not innocent, by the way. Been documenting them gang stalking for years. License 9RJ8600. The fake sign is over the same OVITT Family Community Library that it was this morning at 8 o'clock. Okay, that's how you know OVITT Family Community Library is gang stalking. But again, I've proven this over and 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 over again. Okay, license 9HCM416, 9TTJ599, 9KPU898. And remember, it's the same entity that you saw, witnessed, listened to on the podcast, stalking by helicopter last night. It's the same Ontario Police Department that are begging for the federal government to make them a nationwide example regarding why and how domestic terrorism is not going to be tolerated in this country. 8HZS400, license plate. And I want to be clear, that's just putting a name on it. You need to understand the mental illness that is borne by those that are employed by the Ontario Police Department, every single department. I don't care if they have a pet safety department of the police department. They're all demons and they're all corrupt. And so is the population, okay? This is license 8KWX152. License 9HCM416 and 9TIJ599. Now you're mindful of what the entity is doing flying over this a library where I'm here in the afternoon and the fake sun is here in the morning at 8 o'clock. And that's how you're getting to the gang stalker that is Southwest Airlines, the gang stalker that is Delta Airlines, the gang stalker that is Alaska Airlines, the gang stalker that is the Ontario International Airport, and it is incriminating every airlines engaging in surveillance in the city of Ontario. That is speaking to surveillance, criminal conduct, criminal monitoring, psychological torture, sexual violence, but that is underway through the use of commercial planes, the business of that airport, the business of those airlines. It's a federal RICO case, and it's an elaborate one. Okay, and I've already proven it for you. All right, it is currently 12:41 p.m. The entity has the fake sun over me, and I'm going to capture it at the same entrance where it was this morning, where Billy Bob, all right, that can't even walk, was creating the same exact activity, and it's going to be at the same exact entrance 4 hours later, where I've not gone to Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, and guess what that means for Ocean, and L. Edwards, and Escobar, Amelia, Elena, Brian, all of those that participated in kidnapping on July 4th, 2025. And understand how that's relevant to the RICO case against Starbucks, the corporation, who represent the people of the state. Understand how that's relevant to the disbanding of the Ontario Police Department. Because while I'm nowhere near Starbucks, while they engage in kidnapping because they're scared of the case that is accumulating as I prosecuted online first, the fact that there's no sun and I'm documenting it everywhere but Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, that's also prosecuting Ocean. She's going to prison. All right, and if you heard on that video, I told her to her face, because that's what I tend to do. You're going to federal prison. 7 MPC 943. No sun over 507 North Euclid Avenue equals kidnapping, while you're engaging in surveillance of my evidence, which is also a federal offense, while you're engaging in what is an intent to obstruct justice, and then your co-defendant comes and commits a kidnapping. You're going to prison while that fake sun remains over me while I'm far away from your venue. 6RXX735. She's going to prison, and so is everybody else gang stalking like they were every day, as I've been diligently documenting as of June 3rd, 2025. And then they commit kidnapping on July 4th, 2025. All right, and while I'm walking up and down Euclid Avenue, you know where the fake sun is? On the opposite side of the street, not over remaining over that entrance like I'm documenting. They're going to prison. Okay, that's the long and short. Let me help you what her co-defendants are doing while they're stalking and molesting me with light. Guess who's going to federal prison? Ocean, she's going to prison, 7DJD259. Don't cry for her. Do not cry for these defendants. They're demons. They murder people. They aid in murder. They aid in defamation and kidnapping and theft. They engage in ruining people's lives. They act with corrupt police departments to do so, and they belong in the cages that they're going in. 9HRM970. It is currently 12:43 p.m. This is P.O.C. I'm going to get the fake sun that's remaining over me. The OVITT Family Community Library is scheduled to open at 1 p.m., and they're going to do so under what is a fake sun, speaking to surveillance that the City of Ontario is maintaining at the establishment. All right, you will see the image of the fake sun in the same position that it was this morning, capturing stalking.
Okay, and that's what I'm stating. There's no race, there is no position, there is no identity, there is no physical characteristic, there is no linguistic barrier, there is no exception to the pattern of conduct. You are looking at a uniform engagement in a statewide P.O.C, and it is speaking for what is a federal RICO case against the government that's engaging in massive and pervasive surveillance, and it is demonic, and it's relevant. This demonic system is relevant to understanding the national security threat. This is affecting the way in which you're going to prosecute this. The theory is going to be based upon the fact that yes, it is demonic, and this is informing people about your beliefs, whatever. You're not going to debate that. The issue is that it's informing behavior of human beings, and this is a mental health concern. So the entities engaging in demented behaviors while they're practicing this ritualistic behaviors, which are designed to keep American citizens under surveillance. They're doing it in an environment that is proving it, okay? So it's not made up, and this is what's going on in other states because of the impossibility of what it is that I've proven that I'm subject to and what everyone around is engaging in, and there is no exception. The entity, there's literally no exception. So the entity has, remember, I'm in Ontario, so what is remaining over them in Sacramento? That's what you need to be thinking about, okay? The entity's engaged in what is massive surveillance. The entire state of California is engaged in gang stalking. So you've seen impunity by the Ontario Police Department. You've seen boldness. And where that boldness is attributed to psychopathic mania, because they are on the clearly wrong side of the law. There is no making legitimate what they've done and what they're doing. Okay, so the entity's engaging in what is that boldness, that's a threat to the public. Okay, and you're also paying attention to the probative value of my evidence, the more stinging my evidence and my commentary and my analysis, the more aggressive, the more hostile, the more violent the terrorists become. Okay, that it's literally commensurate. That mental illness, it worsens. And this is relevant to what is a spiritual matter, a reality, and it's making a manifested impact on the behavior of people. And it's relevant because it's criminal conduct engaged in by the government, having no legitimate interest and no constitutional authority. All right, so it's currently 1:16 p.m. You will see the fake send, and I'll go ahead and take a screenshot of that so you can see again what it is that I've been documenting for years. The entity maintaining the light source over me where I am at the same location and hours later, and that's how you're recognizing the pattern of conduct, not the facial expressions of those that are relying on you to look at their badge, and that's supposed to supersede and result in the disregard and discarding of an American citizen that's being targeted. They're being tortured, all right? They're being threatened. So it is currently, again, 1:16 p.m. at 215 East C Street, the OVITT Family Community Library. This is P.O.C. All right, what you will see is, again, the supernatural phenomenon, which is the evidence prosecuting a government for criminal surveillance. The fake send is over the same entrance of 215 East C Street, the OVITT Family Community Library, which is recognition of the City of Ontario. Gang stalking within an establishment. It's 3:56 p.m. where you'll see that, and I was capturing that same scenario at 8 a.m. License 6VQX696, monitoring my vagina in the bathroom. This population entering in to maintain activity both in the male restroom and the employees of the venue. They're crossing path with knowledge of what's going on with my vagina and also tracking every step. So as I walk out of the bathroom, walking out of the personnel doors in order to gang stalk out of the front entrance. They're literally escorting. They're literally stalking the path every step that you take. The employees are sex offenders. It's recognizing the City of Ontario. But that's what I just want to speak to. This is the City of Ontario engaging in the sex offense. License 8JDB239. This is a demon that keeps, if you can hear the door, he's using the door as a method of audible activity as I'm moving my finger on my bag. Let me be clear. That level of hovering activity creation is what is centered around my vagina. And that's how disgusting the demon-possessed are. 6NIL352, 7ZTS108, 6XTL766, engaging in surveillance in the vehicle.
in relevant position to me while, again, their co-defendant enters into the bathroom to use the air dryer as they are aware that my vagina is exposed, what's going on with my digestion, what is it? Is it number one? Is it number two? This is the obsession of that entity that's engaging in all manner of that sort of surveillance, which is sexually perverted, and this is giving insight into the mental illness of the demon-possessed that are gang stalking. License plate. EC44D61, that's a paper plate on a white Tesla, 6HRM970, 7YMS738, 8LFS597, 79433D1. License 6HZH815. License 8Y, hold on, 8YHN410. And license 9NTB857. License 8MJC299. License 9TNW507. What is another poor Elon Musk, doesn't have the best reputation, but he needs to know that everybody in California, they're sex offenders. That's what purchases Teslas. License 9TNW507, 9LLX727. They're all engaged in what is surveillance regarding my vagina right now. 9KFU855, DY30C73, and I can make that categorical statement with regard to what is in California and is gang stalking in the parking garage, where that engineer light coats the ceiling inside of that parking garage. That's where they're engaging in surveillance surrounding my vagina. And as a co-defendant crosses path, the entity engages in the same act of terrorism. Every license plate I just documented, indeed sex offenders, and engaging in what is a act of terrorism together, while their co-defendant drives by and engineer light swipes all across the ceiling like you already saw in video at 10:13 in the morning, where the sun would never be present at the same entrance at 3:56 p.m. They're all sex offenders purchasing Teslas in California. 8GYG772. Mr. Musk may or may not care about that because he gets paid regardless. 9TID606, 8AMU575. And they're all listening to me, and so their co-defendant crosses path, and engineer light swipes across the ceiling, and you know that I'm telling you the truth because you saw that engineer light all over the ceiling inside of this parking garage at 10:13 in the morning, and that's how you know that they're all sex offenders and that they're all stalkers and that they're all psychopaths. All right, they're engaging in that together, and this is, again, the Ontario police that's being disbanded while that act of terrorism is repeated over and over and over again, and it's supernatural to happen even one time. That's also evidence of every single last license plate that I documented. They're all aware while they're being documented, and that is an unprecedented stalkers. 9NOV640. Stalking with the same engineer light across the roof, 9EJY082. That's a female, a sex offender monitoring my vagina, and I bet she lives her life as though she's a heterosexual woman. And you need to know that she's monitoring this black woman's vagina. She's obsessed with it. It is currently 4:02 p.m. License plate. These are all sex offenders engaging in surveillance in the parking garage that's already shown to be the crime scene. License 9JZD464, 9DLH698. And remember where Ocean is at. Ocean's in the Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. While their co-defendants are very unintelligent, stalking with impossible light, she's going to prison. License 9CMU640. And this is why, again, how gang stalking is an inevitable demise once the pattern of conduct is exposed, because the mentally ill can't control themselves. And so while one's over here reacting, being triggered, the other one's going to federal prison for what I documented them engaging in, proving that the other's engaging in the same criminal system. 9CUY417, 8VCC907, 9FQX419, 8MVA784. 8LEG960, another sex offender getting out of their vehicle, opening up their trunk, license in order to avoid to have their license plate being read. 9JAV450. I think I read that one already, right? Yeah, I read that one. License 9HOS644, 9DKA030. All right, and it's the same light activity that you see inside of the Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, 9JZD464, all inside of that cafe. And this is the same population stalking as well. Okay? They're engaging in that pattern of conduct with knowledge that they're being documented. This is P.O.C. 8LOT063. All right, I want to be clear in particular, 9JAV450 is stalking inside of the parking garage, doing so with impossible light activity as it is flying inside of the, across the ceiling, and he's doing so with regard to obsessive presence in the path. You've seen the light activity, like I said, inside of Starbucks. You see it across the wall of the TABOR professional building when this same population is stalking via traffic. It's surveillance. All right, you hear the voices of children, that's audible activity, and engineered light that's flying all about the walls. This is how demons engage in what is a sexually violent pattern of conduct also, using that to monitor my vagina as well, bringing their kids in the bathroom to monitor. JSTYURI. And those sex offenders' license plates are red because it's going to affect their ability to maintain children, custody of children, while they are engaged in a lifestyle of sexual violence, psychological torture, public corruption with the government, conspiring murder and kidnapping, and terrorism. License plate, again, 9RUH762, stalking with impossible light activity, molesting me, and also monitoring my vagina, keeping my vagina under surveillance. Both distinct acts of sexual violence. Doing so in concert with the Ontario Police Department. Mike Lorenz's obsession and his documented criminal engagement regarding my vagina is why that police department is being disbanded. It's 4:05 p.m. License plate 83688D4, and this is pacing, just like the Ontario Police were doing in helicopter overnight. This is what the people of the state are doing on behalf of that corrupt police department that is being disbanded. All right, they're doing so, again, their mental illness is exhibited while they're doing it under a fake sun. They're all psychopaths. And this population that's mentally sick is going to be exposed because it's serving the rest of the country to know what they are doing and how they do it and what's wrong with them, what their focal point is, which is things like your genitalia, things like your privacy that you have a constitutionally protected right to maintain, and they're doing so on behalf of the government. So don't get lost in the trees. It's the state that's going to be prosecuted. All right, it's currently, again, 4:06 p.m. This is P.O.C. at OVITT Family Community Library where the fake sun remains. Alrighty, demons monitoring as well at the same parking lot, Ontario Town Square. License 7CXR494, 8SHJ224, 9MCV127, 7ZXK847, 45843S1, GOF3530. That looks like a Baja. Let me see what this is. It just said, I don't even know what that doesn't even look like a real. Let me take a picture of it because it does. Durango, Mexico, perhaps. Maybe that's why it doesn't look familiar. 7CXR494, monitoring with minor children. I'm monitoring my vagina as well with minor children. License 9EYN325. Ontario Police, gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department. Let me show you this. All right, this is federal prison, license 1671274, 1076 under the fake sun. The entity maintaining this fake sun here at 7 in the morning, like I documented, that's Ontario Town Square. And this is the intentional engagement in an unlawful threat by the department engaging in surveillance with the people of the state that I'm documenting regarding my vagina. And this is a failure of that department to communicate a threat that's any longer a secret. He's going to federal prison. That's a white male. He's going to federal prison. That's the entity engaging in gang stalking while I document the people of the state engaging in what is an unlawful threat. And you also need to know that that white male is a demon. He goes into the parking garage that has the engineer light on the ceiling, that had engineer light flying all about while I documented all the sex offenders driving Teslas, engaging in sexual violence at the City of Ontario's OVITT Family Community Library where the fake sun was here at 8 in the morning. Okay, don't forget the demons. This is the video evidence you're going to use because Ontario police are gang stalking right here at the same Ontario Town Square at 6 in the evening. All right, 6:26 p.m. and I'm here capturing the entity. You're going to prosecute the Ontario Police Department. They're going to federal prison while I document that department targeting me under a fake sun, and they're also going to be diagnosed. All right, this is their failure. Their efforts to try to threaten me is exactly what I'm going to use to prosecute them and put them in prison, one by one. It is currently 4:08 p.m. This is criminal conduct. Ontario Police in the parking lot, 9KTT146, that's P.O.C, and they're stalking with impossible light. All right, this is Title 18 federal stalking. The entity had the fake sun this morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, right here, 215 Eastern Street. That's P.O.C. That's what the Ontario Police is doing right here at 1:07 p.m.
the three demons that are going to prison while I'm coming from Starbucks at 507, where this is not right now, where my shadow is. Where driving under this doesn't create any light activity that's going to shoot around inside of buildings or plant itself above your head inside of the parking garage where Ontario police are stalking in the past, listening to me expose him. That white man that's obsessed with my vagina, that's what he's monitoring with his population pacing around under fake sun. He's going to federal prison. So he can listen to that. It's 4:09 p.m. This is going on the internet as well. P.O.C. Oh, good, you're listening. Okay, I didn't want to stop recording because my videos are a part of the pattern of conduct. 9RUH762. That's Ontario Police Crossing Path. You're listening to me captured on podcast and video at the same time, so that'll be published on YouTube and on the website. So the pattern of conduct is that the entity is gang stalking on behalf of the government. The people of the state are not individuals under the Constitution. They're vicariously acting with the state, and that's shown through the same exact uniform environment that is equally supernatural, equally demonic, equally criminal with regard to the conducive nature for monitoring. So as I'm documenting the people and you're listening to everything, then the demons that they're stalking the whole time, so they just turn the corner in order to communicate a threat directly to me. You're going to prison. 7JBK234. It's the same impossible light inside of Starbucks, and it's happening inside of the parking garage. You've already seen the video. I can remind you about it. Look it up. It's happening at 10:13 a.m. Less than 2 weeks ago. And this is where the entity is keeping the fake sun, where the Ontario police are gang stalking. The entity is doing so pursuant to real-time knowledge. City of Ontario has no interest in anything other than gang stalking and the entity being shut down entirely. Paul Leon's being removed, LORENZ, Michael GERKEN, Alan D. WAPNER, and the gang stalking airlines. That's Alaska Airlines, who you saw gang stalking under the fake sun and doing so at this hovering elevation. Now much more west, like they were doing at 7 o'clock in the morning, by the way, where I'm on the same block. The sun would not be over me on the same block, and it's never in Florida at that. So you're going to look at, again, this is big picture because I'm documenting moment by moment. Big picture, I was at the Ontario Village where Alaska Airlines is on video gang stalking while the fake sun is in the same position over my head. It's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. The fake sun is still over the top of my head at 4 p.m. where Alaska Airlines is gang stalking. That's what you just heard. Not only is the sun not going to stay over your head for that duration of time all day long, it's also not going to stay over the same block. This is relevant to the mileage from 215 AC Street to 636 West Holt Boulevard. Ontario police stalking. License 8PUK899. That's what that's evident of. That's evident of the population stalking and Alaska Airlines, every airline associated with the Ontario International Airport, and failing at helping the people who are going to federal prison. Because Ocean's going, let me be clear, this is so sad, but it's justice. This is so pitiful because the entity is destroying itself. They don't have a defense. They don't have any way of rebutting this case. While the Ontario police are stalking and the Ontario International Airport is stalking, Ocean is going to federal prison. So is Amelia, so is Brian, so is Elena. So is L. Edwards, and so is A. Quesada and Escobar. They're going to federal prison for kidnapping while they're engaged in stalking and under the fake sun, which was over Starbucks at 7 in the morning where they committed kidnapping. Well, at 7 in the morning today, I'm at Starbucks at 636 North Vine Avenue, West Holt Boulevard. And I have not gone toward the Starbucks, and it's not over Starbucks while I'm looking at Ontario PD at C Street at the OVITT Family Community Library, Ontario Town Square. It's not over at the same time. And it's never in LA, like LAPD is gang stalking me under during the same time of year. It's also never going to be in Las Vegas at this time of year, like I'm documenting the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department and Nevada State Police engaging in criminal summoning. All right? Under the fake sun that's over me, my vehicle. This is what it's speaking to. Again, you're going to prison while I document you gang stalking with your kids because you don't like that. While the police want to turn around that corner, you're going to prison. And so are they. GDF 353C, that's Durango. All right? That's the Mexico, I guess that's from Mexico. That's what I'm documenting. And Ontario police engage in what is crossing path, begging for prison because that's where they're going. Every gang stalking demon that's a part of the Ontario Police Department is going to federal prison. And that, again, that was a white male adding to the case against the people of the state in a federal RICO case. A federal RICO case. All right, it's one. These are the living dead, so it's one after another driving off of the cliff. They're all killing themselves. They're one after another off the cliff. License plate 7JQJ110. Every airline, every single last airline, every business, every household. T9DV. That's Nevada plate.
7JXB397. And Ontario Police went right into the parking garage where you've already seen, it's a crime scene. And I documented every license plate in there. PZA10T, Arizona. 7MFG843. There's so many comparisons. Remember, Ontario Police is gang stalking at 9:48 in the morning, where this demon in this that I just captured on video is gang stalking in the same specific environment. They're going to prison. License 7GKC474. They committed kidnapping pursuant to surveillance with the intent to obstruct justice. You're going to prison. 5MBN577. 8XXC619. 9FWN531. 9EYN325. And this is all speaking to everybody that I'm documenting, including that white man driving that Ontario Police Department vehicle 1076 with that license, including the airport, Alaska Airlines, and they're all monitoring my vagina. 8THF580, 5PLB570. All right, it is currently 4:15 p.m. And again, the video that you listened to me document is going to be published on YouTube this is the P.O.C. and it's going to be published on the website for the prosecution of the state of California. And the website is thisisthepoc.wordpress.com. It's 4:15. All right, it is currently 4:31 p.m. and I just want to document the significance of the engineered light that coexists with the people of the state crossing path. It is entirely demonic. So it has nothing to do, like I said, with their cars that are shooting light. Obviously, that's common sense. We all know that Honda, BMW, Range Rover, Land Rover, Mercedes-Benz, Chevy, Ford, nobody. It's Tesla, not even Tesla. Nobody is selling any vehicle that shoots light out of the car doors or out of their tires or out of the windows or off of their ceilings to any side of their vehicles. That's not what's happening. And it's also not a reflection, meaning it's bouncing off. And so there are no products that create that, and there is no reflection from the sun that's above us, creating any reflection off of the top of the vehicles back onto ceilings or off of side of vehicles sharp enough to then pierce into buildings, moving across and creating tornadoes of light like I documented inside of Starbucks. None of that has anything to do with the crossing path by the people. These are indeed demons. The engineered light is your evidence of the demon possessed, the demonic spirits that surround. And this is a demonic pattern of conduct. In other words, the government's engaging in they're practicing witchcraft. They're engaging in spiritual darkness, and they're using this to target American citizens that have no idea what they're being spooked with. They have no idea what they are being surrounded by, but the people of the state do, and so does the government. They're engaged in the practice of witchcraft. They're engaged in the practice of voodoo and black magic, sex rituals, all manner of perversion, hence the monitoring of my vagina, the obsession with my body, with touching my body, with following me everywhere, including into somewhere like a bathroom when I'm not. Why are you interested? Because they're demons. All right. Satan is not only using their vessels, their minds are gone when that's happening, by the way. Their minds are gone. Literally, I mean, like, nobody's home. So you're dealing with the demon possessed, though, who are psychopathic. And so there is an ongoing, deliberate engagement of what is socially expected of them. So I'll tell you that. Now, my exposure of gang stalking is bringing out the hidden mental illness, but it's not hidden when you pay attention. Actually, it's not so hidden at all. The reason why I'm going into this is prefacing what I want to speak to. This is demonic, and the government is engaging in what is demonic, and a population of people, families, maliciously engaging in what is demonic and wanting to maintain an outward demeanor of the exact opposite, actually. This is relevant to the malice of that system. Satan has a lot of participants, if you will, because I don't want to call it, Satan doesn't have an army. This is not an army. This is not a competition. This is not even a strategy. Like, the entity has been obliterated, and all the demons are doing is because that's all they know how to do. They don't have brains. They're not, like, functioning. These are people that are walking around with demonic spirits in their vessels, and so because they don't have brains, and someone with a brain, somebody that would be exercising prudent behaviors, working toward what's in their best interest, and understanding that, okay, you're not just playing Ouija boards, okay? We're not throwing magic back at each other. I don't play with magic. This isn't just for funsies, in other words. It's going to be in a court, and what's happening is it's going to be addressed in a court. It's not just going off into nowhere. The demon-possessed, they're not, that's not, like when I say nobody's there, that's what I mean, nobody's there. They're not there. This is mental illness. So the entity is engaging in this conduct, and they're not appreciating and understanding the fact that they're going to be prosecuted. And that's because the entity has engaged in this satanic means of targeting people. This has been going on for decades and decades and decades. All right, it's an unspoken means, and Satan is a spirit, meaning invisible, and he's using people who really believe that Satan is powerful. They believe that their witchcraft, that their spell work, that their sex rituals, their gang sex, their homosexual festivities with same sex, this is all giving them their sexual promiscuity, their sexual perversion. It's giving them what they believe spiritual power, and it's not. Okay? So this is their inability to understand that it is over. Okay, now how that's being analyzed in the physical, mental illness. Okay, and that's exactly how they're going to be treated, like somebody that can't understand, and you're operating like somebody that's not functioning well, not able to function and put together two and two common sense and appropriate your behavior accordingly. That's going to be addressed with regard to your behavioral issues. Okay, so and it's relevant because it's the government and it's engaging in criminal conduct and it's unconstitutional. All right, so the entity's engaging in, this prefacing what I want to state, because the engineer light has nothing to do with the people that you're seeing. Well, it has everything to do with them because they're demon possessed and they are stalking together. But this is their engagement of what is worshiping Satan, what is worshiping demonic powers that you can't see. And this is what they use to torture somebody. And of course, they don't know what's going on. And believe me, I don't practice witchcraft either, but I am spiritually discerning what surrounds me. And so I also know how, I also happen to have a background in the law. So this is understanding at the outset. I already knew. First of all, you're not going to go into court talking about demons and ghouls and witches and warlocks. And not only that, I don't even know anything about witches and warlocks. And I learned throughout the investigation of the United States that my own mother is a witch, that she practices witchcraft, that she has my whole life, and that she's, again, at the forefront of what is targeting me in this satanic means with a group, and that group is the government, with that group of demons who are targeting me together. It's not a blood relationship. This is spiritual with regard to who is an enemy. Those who are in darkness, in other words, and those who are, meaning your friends and your enemies are not determined by how long you've known them and whether they're blood related to you. And this is the reality of understanding the spiritual realm, which is very real. Okay? The government is weaponizing the spiritual realm against American citizens. It is inhumane. This is what the directed light is about, and it directly impacts in communication devices. It's pursuant to surveillance. The entity is, I've already proven, they are literally stalking, and they're also engaged in stalking while they're engaging in what is monitoring, which is demonic. And you need to know that this is demon possession in HD, okay? I'm sitting over here on the side of the OVITT Family Community Library. There's no traffic. There's no vehicles over here. And also the fake sun is over the entrance portion, all right, of the library. And as I turn on my radio for the Wi-Fi on my cell phone, this is when engineered light, panels of light, like square-shaped light, it appears on the wall in front of me, the building of OVITT Family Community Library, which lets you know, there's so much that you know from that. That lets you know that there are stalkers inside of that library in relevant position and all around. That lets you know that there are stalkers behind me, obviously, and they're inside of the apartment buildings. Everybody's monitoring. But when the entity is maintaining the engineered environment, it's not because the rest of the elements are not present, and it's not because nobody else is there. It's not just happening for funsies and for no reason. And in the same way that these psychopaths are just sitting around while there's tornadoes of light swirling in the air, they're going to be diagnosed for that mentally depraved and psychologically harmful conduct. And it's psychologically harmful to the targeted individual that these demons are engaging in what is stalking in plain view. They're delusional to engage in this conduct. Like the Ontario police well, they've done that before too, but driving under the fake sun that's here after 4 p.m. today. I documented the fake sun at the same entrance at 8 o'clock in the morning. They're delusional, okay? You're going to prison. And not only that, I have a band of demons with that same department under the fake sun throughout the day, speaking to targeting by that entire department, let alone the wealth of documentation of the entity stalking me day and night in helicopters. and what the City of Ontario is doing via the Fire Department and the Ontario International Airport, targeting as a public entity. Now, with regard to this impossible light, as I turn on with simultaneity, this is the formula, with simultaneity to my operation of my communication device, this is getting into Title 18 language, federal stalking, surveillance on communication devices, all right? With simultaneity to this engineered light, not the product of sunlight, supernatural, demonic. A whole secret system where witches and warlocks are engaging in what is trying to do things like target American citizens where they think that they're going to gain power over that individual. It's very much like if you think of like vampire movies where they suck your blood. The demon possessed are engaged in gang stalking in order to suck out the spiritual vitality of a person. It's like murdering them without touching them. Okay, killing the life, killing the spirit of that person. In doing so, while also wanting to literally destroy their life, take whatever it is that the entity thinks is of value, for example, through a fake conservatorship, trying to steal their real property, intellectual property, or personal property. All right, the government's not accomplishing that, but this is one of the purposes behind the demon-possessed doing so. Let me be clear. Satan, the demon-possessed, they're very materialistic. They will do anything for money, including kill. Okay, but I just want to be clear, the impossible light activity appears with simultaneity 4:31 p.m. with my turning on my Wi-Fi radio. That's the element of monitoring. It's pursuant to my activity on my device, and there's nobody standing around me. There's nobody hovering. I'm not talking to anyone. And this is recognizing also the significance of what is traffic on Euclid Avenue when I'm inside of Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue where the entity engaged in kidnapping. And while they are driving, with simultaneity to their driving by outside of the building in the street, this is engineered light that you see flying all about as I've captured a plethora of video evidence. Starbucks is surrounded with evidence, and then they committed a kidnapping. And this is what I mean with regard to delusional. But anyway, the entity engages in this, and the simultaneity of presence and light. So that's what I mean by the panels of light on the wall of the OVITT Family Community Library. Simultaneity of presence is what you know is happening while this impossible light occurs on the wall of OVITT Family Community Library at the same time that I turn on my Wi-Fi radio. The demon possessed are stalking you while you're maintained with regard to being surrounded by and molested by this light that is supernatural. I refer to it as engineered light. It's an entirely fake environment. By fake, I mean the sun's not real, the moon at night over me is not real, meaning it's not pursuant to the natural environment, and the light that is occurring that's all around. Pay attention to the environment because the entity engages in what is loud noises like that when I speak the truth about the demon-possessed secrets. All right, so the entity engages in what is keeping a whole fake environment around me, and they're doing so pursuant to what is monitoring. Monitoring is pursuant to surveillance. Monitoring is also relevant to demonic activity. You need to know that Michael GERKEN, Mike LORENZ, Paul Leon, you need to know that the demons of Alan D. WAPNER, these are demon-possessed people. And these are people that worship Satan. These are people that rely on Satan and rely on demonic deeds like gang stalking in order to profit, in order to gain status in life. Okay, so this is relevant to the criminal summoning that they're engaging in under the 4:42 p.m. fake sun, and that's also how you know that the fire department is stalking me. Okay, the entity that they're monitoring me. This is how they are delusional. They're already surrounded. They are choked out with evidence already, and they are before the world being exposed as the demons, the workers for Satan, and Satan's whole system has been exposed. Now, with regard to you understanding that, I'm sitting over here on the side, and at the moment that I operate my device in a different way, engineer light appears all over the wall of this OVITT Family Community Library, where the Ontario Fire Department just engaged in admitting that they're engaging in surveilling me pursuant to that impossible light, and they are doing so with regard to real-time knowledge of what I'm doing on my device, and that lets you know about the surveillance that you're subject to under a necessarily fake sun over you, because the entity is stalking me under a fake sun that's been here since 8 a.m. Okay, this is the entity that's engaging in that, and that's relevant to the Starbucks crime scene, where the entity pursuant to a federal RICO case, where the entity surrounds Starbucks with this very criminal conduct by the government, the fire department, the airport, the police, and the people of the state. The presence on the roads and the highways, driving by the Starbucks, Driving by the Starbucks while the engineer light appears inside of the Starbucks is the presence of the stalker, the demon-possessed vessels that are surrounding me, that are stalking while that engineer light is occurring. And that engineer light occurring in the manner that it does is also relevant to the demon-possessed that are seeking to torture you, harass you, and do so in the most demented way while not addressing you, not having any relation to you. So in other words, being referred to, again, maliciously as strangers when they're not strangers. They're demons and they're aware of your genitalia. They're aware of what's going on in your personal life. They're targeting you where you're going. They're tracking your steps. And the same way that the Ontario International Airport and the Ontario Fire Department just demonstrated right now under the remaining fake sun, where all of the city of Ontario knows exactly where I'm at. Okay, that's why it's still here in defiance of nature. And I could even prosecute the state of California based on the sun being in the city of Louisiana, because it's not the natural environment. When you're understanding how criminal surveillance is recognized and prosecuted with regard to federal RICO cases against the U.S. government. All right. So this is the entity that's engaging in that, and it's. I just want to, because it's not necessary, nor do I under any circumstances encourage, because I have not studied witchcraft, and it is outside of the guidelines of Scripture to go into things like sorcery, go into what are dark channels where a bunch of demons are going to prison. They follow Satan. They're going to prison. This is how their lives are ending, and it's necessary because they've done a lot of wicked things to people before me. Okay, so the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and I am not under any circumstances stating that in order to understand this, you need to look into witchcraft and look into spell work and look into the things that they're doing. And this, I don't advocate any of that, and it's not necessary. Okay, it is literally a personal relationship with Christ Jesus, who is the true and living God. He's the only God. There is no God before him. There's no God beside him. And there is no substitute God. Satan is not a God as he is being shown to be. He's being embarrassed. He's being exposed. And God is the only chief. He's sitting on top. He reigns supreme. And he is the one also that says where the limit is, where he says, okay, you're not going any farther than here. And that's exactly what has happened. All right. It's resulting in a prosecution of the demon possessed. It's resulting in the prosecution of demonic spirits that are using physical vessels that have names and positions that they're going to be prosecuted under and removed from based on what is public corruption. All right. Including, as you are subject to this engineer light, this is evidence of what is criminal activity, and it's direct evidence. It's not circumstantial evidence. And it's also relevant to informing, and it's serving the good, and it's helping other states with regard to recognizing what is going on in other countries, what American citizens, what corrupt governments are doing, and throughout the states, okay? But I wanted to include that in the podcast. The entity is doing that as I turn on my Wi-Fi radio. The simultaneity of the conduct is demonic. It's called stalking with activity. The entity stalks with audible activity. The entity stalks with light activity, just like that, which is what that is. The entity engages in while it's engaged in real-time surveillance, engages in what you heard, criminal summoning, amplified train activity. You can't hear the train throughout the city. And also in the same way, how do you know that? Because first of all, that's common sense, because you can. If you've ever ridden on a train as well, which I have as well, ridden on Amtrak and Metrolink, and the train is not so loud that it's making your ears bleed. You can listen comfortably to your headphones, music, and it's not interfering with anything. You can play and listen to record, which I have done. I've documented Metrolink on video, and you're not hearing the train sounding. This is ask an entity, what the entity, and all you do is surround Satan with evidence, because Satan is not a rocket scientist. He is not omniscient. He's not all-knowing. Like I said, he is not the alternative to God. He's not equal to God. He is literally a created being. God created him, and he chose the other, and his fate is already sealed. And there are people that worship a loser. They worship and listen to and follow a loser. And I want to be clear, there's a real consequence for it as well, because they didn't have to do that. Now, with regard to this prosecution, they were warned years ago. I said back in 2018 and 2019, whether you wanted to believe little 5'5", 125-pound Erica Spencer or not, it doesn't matter who the speaker is. It's based on who's my authority. They were warned a long time ago. They were warned a long time ago. And they still persisted to try to take my life and my property. And the Lord said no to all of the above. And also he said, you're going to pay the consequences for it. And there's severe consequences. based on what the Lord knows every detail of what their sick, perverted, and satanic purposes are, what they wanted to do. They wanted to see me dead in an alley somewhere, wanted to harvest my insides, wanted to sit around chanting, hopping under a moon, taking my blood, want to do all kind of sick stuff with my insides. These are the demons that are gang stalking and smiling and holding the hands of kids, and they don't want you to know what's really wrong with them. It's not happening. And he's punishing even their thoughts. In addition to their criminal conduct, it's even in the physical, the government itself being prosecuted and exposed. All right? It is currently 4:49 p.m. And this is documentation of federal stalking. This is the main basis of the federal RICO case. But again, as you are witnessing, the entity is engaged in sexual violence. The entity is engaged in all manner of surveillance on the internet and using communication devices. There are many other laws. The chief one is federal stalking, and I do advocate additional language to that statute based on the surveillance that's underway in the state of California, and understanding gang stalking, how the elements are underway with regard to operation and surveillance of communication devices and on the internet. And as they engage in the elements in the specific environment, it's having a real-time affect, and you are subject to surveillance on your devices. And this is something that the government is doing directly and vicariously through a population. It's necessitating an adjustment of the language of the federal stalking statute, okay, in order to incorporate that. But it is surveillance, which the language already addresses. I am expounding upon what this surveillance, how it's executed, and what they're doing in order to engage in the surveillance, okay? It's, in other words, it's including the system of gang stalking, which is surveillance, in the federal stalking statute, okay? It is currently 4:50 p.m. This is P.O.C. It is currently 5:16 p.m. The entity is stalking by amplified helicopter activity under the fake sun that's over the same entrance that it was at 8 o'clock in the morning. This is evidence that's already exceeded what is a prosecution of merely just the Ontario Police Department. This is about the state. The Ontario Police Department is going to be disbanded. The entity sounding helicopter activity, remember, everything is significant in that specific environment, including everything that you hear pursuant to monitoring. And it's specific with regard to a fake sun that's sitting over me, like it was at 7 in the morning where Alaska Airlines is stalking, and I'm still at the end of the day looking at the same sun over my head. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 hours later, that's the Ontario Police that's specifically stalking pursuant to, again, psychopathic issues. That is not going to result in theft of my personal property, my money, my real property, which the entity sought to do. And that's why they're being disbanded and they're going to federal prison. The Ontario Police is gang stalking me and doing in the most spectacular means, such as helicopter, because they intended to psychologically torture me. It's trying to, thinking that they were going to, through their demonic means, and engage in what is stalking in means, such as helicopter, and using demonic means of targeting, such as engineer light, use psychological torture to, that is quote unquote, drive someone crazy. They're going to prison for that. They're doing so in an effort to commit murder under circumstances where they could take my life and make it appear as though I took my life. They're going to federal prison for that. They did so in order to engage in what is kidnapping, which they have done, engaged in serial kidnapping. They're going to federal prison for that. All right. And their mental illness is exhibited by the fact that they are continuously stalking, and it's going right on the internet. Every time they do it, and it goes right on the internet, and then they do it again, and it goes right on the internet. And they're going to be in court before all of this evidence. And no sane person would, number one, do it, and no sane person would continuously engage in what is a very readily predictable result. And they're already on the bad side of the law. Do you understand that? So this is getting to, again, the delusion behind what the entity is doing. It is currently 5:18 p.m. This is P.O.C. Okay, I just want to be clear. Tracy Banks is going to federal prison. Tracy Banks' license plate is 9HUZ740. She is, again, as mentally ill as the demons that are stalking in helicopter under an 11-hour fake sun that is not over Starbucks as well. Ocean is going to federal prison. And so is L. Edwards, who engaged in kidnapping under the fake sun that's remaining over me all day long, like I'm documenting. So is A. Quesada, who committed sexual assault and battery, not pursuant to a lawful search and not pursuant to a lawful arrest. She is gang stalking with the department that's sounding helicopters so that you could be clear regarding the criminal activity that the state of California, the city of Ontario, and that third parties like Starbucks and Tracy Banks have committed. This is P.O.C. It's 5:19 p.m. I just want to be clear, Jason Isaac Fields, he's going to federal prison. He's Tracy Banks' sex partner. They both engaged in what is, a fraudulent marriage, a fake conservatorship, corrupt conduct with the court, relying on criminal defamation that corrupt stalkers like the Ontario Police have provided and the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department have provided through the documented acts of kidnapping that I maintain on record. They're going to federal prison for that. Okay? I just want to be clear, while the entity is engaging in what is surrounding under the fake sun stalking. You are aware of the entity that is gang stalking an Ontario police vehicle at 9:48 a.m. The Ontario police that's gang stalking, like I documented over an hour ago at 4 p.m. You're aware of what the demon gang stalking at 6:26 p.m. on video under the fake sun. They're going to federal prison. You're aware about the Ontario police gang stalking at this same venue at 1:07 p.m. They're going to federal prison. You're aware of the entity that's gang stalking under the fake sun at 10:26 a.m. on June 16, 2022, same time of year at 10:29 a.m. They're going to federal prison for engaging in kidnapping. As sure as the entity is still gang stalking, as I'm documenting on podcast, and the entity is exhibiting severe mental illness, while the evidence is going to take down a bunch of demons at the same time, because they're all going to federal prison. That's what any gang stalking police department that utilizes the abuse of law enforcement resources and authority to engage in kidnapping, to engage in theft of property, to engage in criminal defamation, and with the intent to obstruct justice. Starbucks, the corporation, where the sun is not over that Starbucks right now, I'm going to prosecute Starbucks with a federal RICO case as well. It's relevant to that. Because this is where the city of Ontario is gang stalking with. This is what Starbucks is engaging in. This is P.O.C. This is the entity that relies on, again, feckless acts of witchcraft. They rely on sex rituals. They rely on voodoo. They rely on black magic. They rely on merely acts of harassment while I document it, and it's going to be submitted in court. It is in conformity to a well-documented, long-existing pattern of conduct. And the demons are also going to produce the names of those who are at 5:21 p.m. in operation of an Ontario Police Department helicopter, and they're going to prison, as the body of evidence is already maintaining. I maintain that evidence, and the entity is going to literally produce it. This is, again, no mystery about who is clearly stalking and who is engaging in what is targeting me, stalking me in particular. This is, however, regarding the mental illness of the population, it soothes delusional psychopaths to engage in the conduct that they're going to answer for under the law. It soothes them, but they're, again, short-sighted, very temporary satisfaction, and not thinking about long-term. So as surely as you hear that helicopter, it's at 215 E.C. Street, OVITT Family Community Library, where I documented the fake sun at 8:06 a.m., and it is 5:22 p.m., where the entity is maintaining that fake sun, and that's uploaded to the Google Drive already. You already know that. I captured video of them stalking me by helicopter on June 4th, 2025 at 6 p.m. upon my exit. I documented them gang stalking by helicopter, monitoring my vagina just the other day at 6:02 p.m. when I'm in Rancho Cucamonga, and I remind you about what the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department is doing in helicopter under the fake sun that is not at the same time over Arco, the AM/PM at the intersection of what is 12925 Arrow Route in Rancho Cucamonga, where the entity's keeping the fake sun over the OVITT Family Community Library, where you hear the direct evidence of mental illness, gang stalking using helicopters. The particular department that's being disbanded is the Ontario Police, and this is exhibiting mental illness by, again, the ability to identify who is the sick actor here, and it is Mike LORENZ. All right, it's currently 5:23 p.m. This is P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaging in criminal conduct while I'm sitting on the side watching YouTube videos, and the entity is demented. The entity is tormented by their own demons. The entity is very bothered because I'm at peace while all my evidence is uploaded onto the internet, and I am perusing on YouTube, and all I do is press record because their prosecution and the case is already complete. The demon-possessed are very much triggered by that as well. That's also why they are subject to what are diagnoses for the psychopathic and antisocial disorders. that is inherent to gang stalking, including in helicopter. Okay? It is currently 5:24 p.m. and as you'll recognize, this is exactly what the entity was doing last night at the TABOR Professional Building, flying in circles around me in engineered light, doing so while the fake moon was under me. That is the P.O.C. Let me document at 5:24. Yeah, this is 8 minutes. So I want to document this is 8 minutes of the entity circling around in helicopter. It's 5:24 p.m. at 215 E.C. Street. If you'll recall my two videos last night of the Ontario Police, one was 7 minutes and the other one was a little bit over 8 minutes. Tracy Banks is going to federal prison. There's no question with regard to her secretly denigrating my character to those who are in a position regarding property that belongs to me. And the people that are listening to Tracy Banks and are listening to Jason Isaac Fields about my property and are listening to the government never asked me about my character, never asked me about the false allegations regarding the mysterious things that I supposedly committed that I know nothing about. And I also don't know anything about my property that is being held from me while the entity is engaging in stalking me with the Ontario Police Department. That's why they're going to federal prison. Tracy Banks is going to federal prison and so is Jason Isaac Fields. And those engaging in what is relying on the criminal defamation of Ontario Police, San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, any corrupt courts relying on information about me coming from them when they've been gang stalking, which my evidence, the P.O.C. establishes unilaterally. And it's also revealing the mental illness suffered by those who are targeting me in an effort to steal money. It's for money that they're not getting. When you're engaged in stalking the person that you're trying to secretly defame through what are criminally procured devices like a secret conservatorship regarding property that the person that the subject or the owner of that property doesn't even know anything about it, you're not taking that property. This is a delusional psychopath that's engaging in criminal conduct that a lot of people are going to go to federal prison for, because this is the system that they engaged in while they sought to falsely depict my character behind my back. While I'm a licensed attorney, minding my business, practicing law, finance my own education, taking care of myself, and always have been. Tracy Banks could not, like I said, finance a box of Twinkies, didn't counsel me, didn't help me commit or complete anything. All right, and the entity is engaging what is targeting me on the job, just like this is what LAPD is doing when I'm at work, flying over my office. That is not an inability to take care of yourself. That's documentation that's sitting on the record as well. Okay, the entity is engaging in this while, again, the desperation of the entity is speaking to its own mental illness. It's speaking to its own criminal engagement and targeting, and it's speaking to the exposure of pervasive corruption in the city of Ontario and in the state of California. While at the same address as well, while you hear the helicopter in the background, they're doing so where the sun is sitting over the same entrance where it was at 8 o'clock in the morning. That's letting you know that they're not only stalking in a very obvious manner, which is rendering illegitimate everything that has been secretly spoken and submitted in courts about me regarding property that belongs to me, but also regarding the mental illness of those engaging in it. And it is relevant to what is demon possession. P.O.C. It's 5:27 p.m. I just want to be clear, the entity is at 11 minutes. I'm at the side of the OVITT Family Community Library where the entity is concentrating helicopter activity, flying in circles over me. This is what they were doing last night on video, the TABOR Professional Building, flying in circles in relevant position while the people are pacing all around, which is what they're doing under the fake sun that's over me, and they're pacing on Euclid Avenue. They're pacing all around the venue while the entity is pacing in helicopter. This is a satanic ritualistic pattern, and it's not getting them anywhere other than federal prison. L. Edwards is indeed going to prison. He and Escobar engaged in what is kidnapping with Ocean, Amelia, Brian, the entity that's engaged in what is kidnapping pursuant to obstruction of justice while they're sharing in a surveillance which the city of Ontario is engaging in. Okay, that's P.O.C. That is the Ontario Police. That is indeed flying over me. That's what you're hearing when I'm recording on podcast. And this is the fake sun over the same entrance that it was at 8 in the morning, where Billy Bob, as I referred to him, was stalking in the path, while the fake sun is stalking is recognized in the specific environment. So this is the entity that's engaging in that and doing so with regard to real-time knowledge about the documentation that I'm maintaining. It's published on the internet right now. Remember, the entity is engaging in the same thing in Rancho Cucamonga at the intersection of Arrow Route and Etowanda Avenue, where the entity has the fake sun at West Valley Detention Center, like I documented on July 4th, 2025. And as I'm documenting during the 5 p.m. hour, it is currently 5:29 p.m. at or around the same time. I believe it's 5:33 p.m. actually. And the entity has the fake sun over the same entrance that it was this morning at 8 a.m., 8:06 a.m. And the entity is gang stalking. This is, we are at, because I want to be clear, I'm simultaneously recording podcasts. So let me show you this at 13 minutes on podcast, if you could see that. The entity has been maintaining, I've been documenting ongoing helicopter activity. This is where the Ontario Police is flying right over here, where you see the helicopter flying in circles over me and clearly targeting not only by the prolonged time, but also because of the fake sun that's over the same address that it was over me at 8 o'clock in the morning. This is where Alaska Airlines is identified as stalking, because the fake sun's been over me all day long, including since 7 a.m., where I documented Alaska Airlines gang stalking, as aerial surveillance is an integral aspect with regard to the pattern of conduct. This is engineer light, not sunlight. You also know that it's not sunlight because the fake sun is not going to create sunlight, and also the entity has the fake sun over Arrow Route and Etowanda Avenue in Rancho Cucamonga, where I documented the fake sun setting. Okay, so let me show you the same entrance. This is where the Ontario Police is for, again, the moment that I start recording video of it, and what they're going to recognize is that they're going to federal prison while I captured on podcast and while I captured on video. Everybody in that garage, all those Teslas I documented, they were gang stalking and monitoring my vagina with the Ontario Police that's at the same entrance under the fake sun that's over me since 8 a.m. And that's stalking right there while they're driving by. Okay, this is not over Arrow Route at the AM PM at 12925 at the same time. 12925 Arrow Route, and the Ontario Police Department is being disbanded. And L. Edwards committed kidnapping, A. Quesada committed kidnapping, Ocean, Starbucks, the corporation, committed kidnapping pursuant to criminal surveillance with the Ontario Police, who are publicly losing the ongoing bet to defame my character by gang stalking me while they practice demonic means of targeting someone, such as doing it under a fake sun. This is not incorporating the fact that you document gang stalking, and the entity will be prosecuted and diagnosed for the mental illness that is psychopathic when you're engaging in stalking an American citizen with a population, doing so under a fake sun, which is reflecting poorly on their character, not that targeted individual, which is a real person as well, by the way. And the entity is also doing so pursuant to real-time knowledge. Remember, I'm the first that's ever publishing, so that's also getting to what is the diagnosis of the psychopath whose identity is going to be produced, in addition to the people 9CCF825 under the fake sun, helping the entity that's circling in helicopter right here. Okay, remember, you saw them fly over my head. This is where they've been doing it. As I start capturing video, deviating from flying right over. That's the Ontario Police. This is what they're doing at the TABOR Professional Building as well. This is Tracy Banks' defendant, her co-defendant, failing in what is maligning my character successfully, because they're stalking, and Tracy Banks has been gang stalking with the state for years and maintaining a secret conservatorship, maintaining a fraudulent marriage, and so has Jason Isaac Fields. They're going to prison. And the co-defendant that's stalking in helicopters does so with the intent to psychologically torture, does so, again, not considering the fact that the documentation showing consistent evidence of kidnapping pursuant to gang stalking with the intent to obstruct justice does not equal mental illness when they're doing it on paper in corrupt courts that keep your property from you. And don't also address you regarding the means of having any conservatorship in the first place. This is the entity that's engaging in that P.O.C. The body of evidence is showing the way in which you're recognizing state surveillance, criminal surveillance. The entity is aware in real time as I publish the evidence online that's going to the mental illness of that entity that is gang stalking. And this is what the entity is doing when they follow me to the TABOR Professional Building, engaging in that P.O.C. This is the handiwork of Mike LORENZ, Paul Leon. The entity is gang stalking through every level of government in Ontario and the people of the state who I document via podcast. I document is published online, and this is going to be the prosecution of the entire state of California. This is that same ritualistic conduct at the TABOR Professional Building at nightfall, the same engineered light where multiple shadows are all over the ground. It's stalking with impossible light when the fake sun is remaining over Rancho Cucamonga, a specific intersection. This is not sunlight, this is engineered light. That's how you have multiple shadows, magnified shadows. In the parking garage, the engineered light that's on the ceiling inside of that parking garage, this is where the Ontario Police is stalking, and the Hallmark is doing it with helicopter, which is what the Rancho Cucamonga, the San Bernardino County Sheriff is doing at the same time in an environment that is irreconcilable, okay? This is P.O.C. It's 5:33 p.m. All right, that is, again, the evidence, what you'll see on the video as I begin. Ontario Police, as you've been listening to, stalking by helicopter, doing so because the demons are very much triggered while I'm on YouTube. And I'm perusing through videos, and I'm laughing. about what it is that I'm viewing. And the entity is, again, the mentally ill. These are the demon-possessed that are very much triggered, especially as they're exposed. But it's unfortunate because the consequence is prison, the consequence is exposure, the consequence is removal from office for the crime of surveillance, meaning the very icky crime of a demonic means of targeting. They're gang stalkers, they're witches and warlocks, they're sex offenders. And the Ontario Police maintaining what is, let me get at 5:34. You just heard me capture that video. That video was over 5 minutes long, and you're remembering what the San Bernardino County Sheriff is doing at the same time, under the same circumstances, which is impossible. I remain at the OVITT Family Community Library, which is why you document Satan. The fake son is over the same address at 8. It's still present at 5:34 p.m. The entity is at San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department after L. Edwards and A. Quesada and Escobar committed kidnapping from 507 North Euclid Avenue, where Starbucks, the corporation, committed kidnapping as it's engaged in surveillance, recognized through that specific environment. That's why the fake son was over me at that Starbucks, like I documented from the beginning until the end of the day. And the entity engages in kidnapping while they're engaged in surveillance because they're fearful of my evidence. And it's very unintelligent, and it is, again, also harmful to all the other defendants that are gang stalking together, because they're going to prison while I show you the fake son that's not over Starbucks, which it is when I'm there, which is speaking to targeting that Starbucks is engaging in. And it's also relevant with regard to comparing what LAPD is doing, which is how you know what everybody at Alvarado Gardens was engaged in with the same state of California. That's exposing them to federal prison, which is what I was documenting in real time as I capture that evidence. The entity is keeping the fake son pursuant to the kidnapper, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, who was stalking in helicopter, just like the Ontario Police Department are, even at the same time and the same impossible circumstance. Number one, today from 8 a.m. until what is after 5:30 at the same address, let alone in two different cities where I am from 12:51 until after 5, but capture that video of the entity stalking by helicopter at Arrow Route and Etowanda Avenue. That's the Ontario Police, again, presenting evidence against all of its co-defendants, including Starbucks, the corporation, all of the employees engaging in kidnapping on July 4th, 2025, the employees engaging in what is threatening to kidnap me at 9 in the morning yesterday at Starbucks, the same corporation, at the 706 West Hope Boulevard. The same L. Edwards and A. Quesada arrived pursuant to surveillance under a fake son, where the Ontario Police are engaged in stalking, as you're seeing and listening to on helicopter, and they did so for over 18 minutes, and this is going in court. There's no controversy here, and it is not looking poorly on my character whatsoever. Diligently maintain evidence, even explaining the practice of satanic means that is malicious for federal court, malicious means of targeting someone in ways in which the ordinary targeted individual does not understand, cannot comprehend, and they are supposed to, they're expected to act out in one way or another in order to falsely depict, that is, create the illusion while the demons practice this demonic targeting system. It's supposed to create this satisfactory appearance of mental illness so that a gang stalking court can adjudicate regarding your mental health and steal your property from you. The entity did not get that, and you are witnessing the crash out on a daily and nightly basis while I'm capturing an ongoing pattern, what is beyond a coincidence. Last night, the entity for over 7 and 8 minutes flew in circles in relevant position. I'm showing you all the engineered light that's all around, because standing under a light bulb doesn't create a line of shadows in front of you or behind you and upright, magnified in size, as tall as you, the same mass appearance. That's not created by light bulbs. That's speaking to stalking with light. That's what's happening while the fake sun remains over me. Everybody is stalking with light, just like they are at nightfall. The entity is also stalking with light when you see the engineer light swiping across the wall of the Support Professional building, which is what you saw in the videos, while the Ontario Police is doing exactly what they did today, which is not a solution to the evidence for stalking an American citizen. The entity is demon-possessed. Like I said, they're not there. Nobody's there. Mentally ill, they're gone. Nobody's there. And they're providing evidence against all of the co-defendants, including Tracy Banks. When you are documenting stalking by another person, and it is conclusive evidence of stalking, meaning it is conclusive evidence of the absence of any paranoia, the absence of any hallucination, the absence of any imagining things. The entity is exhibiting mental illness, however, while their mental illness is shown through their obsession with me. Oh, their obsession might have to do with a lot of money that they tried to steal as a corrupt government, abusing their positions. And while they've already lost in that endeavor, very much triggered in the immediate, temporary, in the interim, because I'm perusing on YouTube, minding my business, because the federal RICO case against the state of California is complete. The case disbanding the Ontario Police Department, that is complete. And giving me another 5-minute video of you flying in circles, being mentally ill under a fake sun, exhibiting what is the same level of dementia, a demented behavior pattern that the people of the state exhibit. And you're looking at what is insurmountable. You can look at the picture of the fake sun at 8 o'clock. You can look at the picture of the fake sun upon my entrance at 1 o'clock. You can look at the video that I just captured at 5 p.m. You can look at the video of July 4th, 2025, when I'm in Rancho Cucamonga at the same time. And you have what is not a coincidence. The fake sun remaining at one venue all day long and remaining at an entirely different venue, which is not happening at the same time. Neither is the sun sitting at one. It's not in Florida at any point under both examples. And you have the common pattern of conduct, which is presence using helicopters, which is what I've been speaking to as the hallmark. The entity does this on video and via podcast while it has engaged in what is keeping the evidence against them under surveillance. This is what L. Edwards is engaging in when he arrives and states that Ocean called him on the phone regarding her desire for me to leave the cafe. You need to understand that that is the entity's superficial basis of removing pursuant to criminal summoning. Ocean, Starbucks, the employees, and the Ontario Police are all engaged in surveillance, just like the Ontario Police just demonstrated by remaining for 18 minutes flying in circles over me in a helicopter in conformity to the pattern of conduct, in the same way that LAPD is doing when I'm living in Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens under a fake sun, which is not at the same time over Alvarado Gardens and over OVITT Family Community Library, which is not ever in the natural environment, remaining over the same entrance from 8 a.m. to what I'm documenting at 5 p.m. And again, in that supernatural environment, there's no coincidence regarding the ongoing targeting that I'm documenting on video and on podcast by helicopter, by a police department that's engaging in a pattern of kidnapping me and making up information, and also engaging what is harassment because they're engaging in surveillance and they know that I'm documenting them. And the foolishness behind engaging what is documented targeting, that's the entity that's putting each other in prison. L. Edwards engaged in surveillance. Gang stalking police officers use criminal summoning to commit kidnappings. He's going to prison. So is A. Quesada. So is Escobar. So is Nathan Morgan. So is L. Martinez, B. Hook, and C. Torres. So is Corey Watson. So is the Demons gang stalking on June 16, 2022 at this same OVITT Family Community Library where the sun, no matter how many years passed, daylight savings time or not, but it was June of 2022. Will the sun be over at 5:30 in the evening and 10:29 in the morning? This is the foolishness behind the demon-possessed whose minds, like I said, they're not there. That's what I mean. They're not there. And the demon-possessed are very much tormented and they're miserable. So they engage in what is harassing me. I document it. You witness it. They're prosecuted. They're disbanded. They're going to prison. And I'm getting all my money back. Okay? It's currently 5:41 p.m. Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields are going to prison. And they're going to federal prison because they suffer the same issue. It's greed. And these are the demon-possessed that engage in having sex with children. They engage in having sex with people of the same gender. They engage in having sex with multiple people because they believe that this garners them spiritual power from Satan. And they're not, you're looking at them being embarrassed on the internet for being a stalker, using thousands of dollars of stalking me, using helicopters. Do you know how expensive that is? They're using commercial planes to stalk me. That costs a lot of money. That costs a lot of organization to do that, and also try to conceal it as well. That's how important I am. That's how much money they tried to steal from me, and they're not getting it. They're not getting it at all, and they're going to prison for it. They're going to prison because of the harms that they inflicted in trying to steal from me in the first place. The entity is engaging in what is a long documented pattern of public corruption. I've been on the case since 2018. Okay, the entities engaging in what is going on, however, because I'm not the only one whose inheritance the state of California tried to steal. This is happening to people throughout the country, and the Ontario Police Department are unfortunately doing, and it's not unfortunate, it's good, but if you wanted to be corrupt, if you wanted to try to maintain some sort of covert means of, keeping up a system where it's not so, the Ontario Police ruined it for every demon-possessed gang stalking agency in the state, and in the country. Because they are showing you what is bare bones mental sickness that the people of the state share. This is the same mania when they're stalking with light. The same mania, the same obsession, the same delusion. First of all, what are you doing? I'm documenting you. There's a consequence, and the consequence is not getting my money. You're not getting it. That's not happening. Okay? And I just got 5 minutes on video so you can see it, and I got 18 minutes via podcast and you can hear it. You hear the helicopter not going anywhere. And where do you see the video starting? That video, all the podcasts you heard, the helicopter activity, and I started the video, this is where they were flying right over the top of my head. Where do you see the fake sun? Right over the top of my head. Where was the fake sun this morning? Right over the top of my head at 7 a.m. This is a population that's stalking. And again, the demon that's stalking in helicopters, as all of them are, they're going to produce their own identities because they're going to prison. Just like every kidnapper whose identity I capture, they're going to prison. Just like anybody pursuant to criminal summoning, like Tracy Banks engaged in with this department, her co-defendant, the Ontario Police, they're being disbanded and they're going to federal prison. This is what Tracy Banks relied on in order to try to steal from me, and is relying on criminal defamation in doing so. It's an act of malice by the government, who is engaged in what is a demonic system seeking to falsely depict the character of American citizens, whom they try to steal from. The government's engaged in stealing the inheritances of American citizens throughout this country, in other words. Inheritances that they don't know that they even have. Okay, so that's, again, and it's relevant to what is a demonic means of doing so, targeting you in ways that are unheard of. And so I expound upon these things so that it is heard of, so that it is recognized, and so that you can get down to what are no longer a mystery. It's no longer perplexing. It's no longer unheard of, okay, because it's real. It is currently, this is a wealth of evidence. The entity likes, again, this is also the fruit of obsession with me. The entity would rather negative attention, where it is, again, it's already a conclusive and straightforward prosecution. They would rather negative attention from me. This is how obsessed the demon-possessed are, and understand what that's from. The demon-possessed that engage in what are worshiping me, stalking me, monitoring me in the spirit, and also physically monitoring, which is with regard to stalking with light, stalking with presence, and stalking with activity, audible activity. They develop an obsession based on that. And the obsession even includes even seeking negative attention from me. And that's, again, what is that? That's mental illness exhibited, because it's going toward a federal case against them. And you're going to federal prison. No sane person wants that attention. No sane person. And there is no rational, reasonable basis. This is straightforward evidence of a police department targeting, terrorizing an American citizen. And why you would do that? Because you're mentally ill. That's why. Okay? And you need to know that the mentally ill that are gang stalking, every single last one of them are, including L. Edwards and Nathan Morgan. And I want to be clear, this is why they throw out things that are patently absurd and false, such as mental illness, such as this is what Tracy Banks and the Ontario Police are discussing on May 29, 2025. That's why they discuss these things. They're projecting their own mental illness onto me while they're targeting me. Okay, nothing could be farther from the truth regarding me and my mental health, my behavioral health, my history. It doesn't exist. Literally, the government, Tracy Banks, made every single aspect of it up, made it all up from the beginning until the end, made it all up. All of it. And the government is a part of it. That's why the government never told me about my property. The government's not innocent. Clearly, they're stalking in helicopter. The government's not innocent, though, because nobody told me about my property while I'm being secretly defamed and I'm being targeted, which nobody else is talking about either. Okay? The government didn't tell me about my property. The government didn't tell me that people are defaming my character, accusing me of crimes. All right? I know nothing about any of this. It's all in secret. While you have the Ontario Police for years, amongst many other law enforcement agencies, the Ontario Police is not the only one, but they're the ones that engaged in kidnapping. These are the fools that are going to be headlining because they're being disbanded and they're going to prison. Many of them of the Ontario Police, because I documented a lot of them. The demon that I documented on video, gang stalking at 4, the fake son is still here over me. He's going to prison. They're going to prison. Every last one I documented. Understand, they're targeting, they're using war tactics on an American citizen, and their war tactics are being deflected back onto them. It's going in the case against every single last one. They're going to prison. They're going to federal prison. And the delusion behind their criminal conduct is aiding in that. Inevitable conclusion. It is currently 5:47 p.m. I just want to speak to the entity that engages in that is doing so based on what is indeed obsession with me, and also an obsession with that which they're never going to get, which is my money. All right. It is currently, again, 5:47 p.m. at 215 E.C. Street. The evidence of the specific environment is captured in the video. You can see the video on the YouTube channel at This Is the P.O.C. and on my website, which is serving for the prosecution in a federal RICO case, amongst other ways to prosecute, but the entity for state surveillance, in other words, for domestic terrorism and psychological torture, it's a prosecution of the state of California, and it is on thisisthepoc.wordpress.com. This is POC. All right, the entity is stalking by planes, migrating north. As I'm walking north, you'll see the entity stalking with light, facing the dark parking lot at Arco at 434 North Euclid Avenue, facing light in whatever direction I come toward this location, what you're paying attention to. And then there's a creeper sitting in the dark parking lot, stalking in the path. License 7RNF822. This is surrounding conduct. And while the demons are driving down the street, engineer light is dancing all over the walls while they're monitoring. This is the same mental illness exhibited by the Ontario police flying in circles over me while the fake sun is sitting at an entrance for 10 hours today. 43443L3. And these are stalkers using commercial planes to follow me. The people of the state are gang stalking as I document their license plates. This is an entity gang stalking by their addresses where they live. Gang stalking as a community, and I'm identifying many of these sex offenders living in, engaging in domestic terrorism by residents. License 7C89797. And by the way, it is 8:51 p.m. where the city of Ontario is stalking a woman in the dark and engaging in terrorism, practicing satanic means of trying to psychologically torture me with the purpose of seeking to criminally defame me in order to kidnap and murder me, and also engaging in what is the intent to steal from me. 08304S1. This is the purpose behind what the government is doing to a woman. And then you'll understand that all of the, for example, government programs that the government promotes with regard to domestic violence and protecting women and whatnot. And then the entity is not telling you about the fact that they gang stalk women. 7NVT003. Women gang stalk women. Males gang stalk women. The government gang stalks women. 8NRN890. License plate 8POM780. If you'll recall, this is exactly what I documented this morning. During the 6 a.m., 7 a.m., I documented the same thing, 8JLF350. This is why you document, okay? I documented this morning the sound of ongoing planes, right? And while I was walking from the TABOR Professional Building, the entity doing the same thing, coming from the OVITT Family Community Library. And I also had the ability to document all day long the sun that remained over me. And I remained from the TABOR Professional Building at 320 West G Street to, I did go to Stater Brothers in the morning. That was during the 7 a.m. hour. And then I went back east on the same block. But I never went any more than about an hour, not an hour, than about a mile and a half altogether. From the TABOR Professional Building to the Stater Brothers back to the OVITT Family Community Library. And that's where the entity kept the fake sun on the block, okay? And you're looking at that same exact pattern of conduct and mental illness exhibited while a police department stalks in helicopters and an airport stalks in planes and a population stalks with light. License 6GWT634. This is a demon that's waiting for me to walk around the corner, is sitting in the dark with their headlights on, and their headlights is the form for what is stalking with engineer light. This is a sex offender, 5XOP645. And those that are gang stalking immigrants are going to be deported. This is P.O.C. And this is why I am not hostile toward Mr. Trump's policy. Not at all. Because these are the immigrants that need to be deported out of this country. 9SKE094. And I am documenting and you're witnessing their impunity as well. License 9RWD759. License 8RWD243. 9KFC912. 8XWN235. Yeah, 8XWN235. And I'm going to go ahead, go down this neighborhood. Since you have demons stalking down the street, they're monitoring in their homes. So let me go document some more of the people of the state. They're monitoring at these venues, engaging. You hear them speaking. Oh, thank you, amiga. She's just coincidentally arriving at the vehicle to accept a gift with regard to crossing path and engineer light. My shadows on both sides of my person. The entity gang stalking by the airport. The entity kept the fake sun over me within less than 2 miles. I didn't go anywhere in the city of Ontario. I stayed at the same block pretty much. And this is the entity that's gang stalking. 7EEZ984. 85146D2, stalking with the Ontario International Airport. And the people of the state are sitting in the middle of this residential street. Oh yeah, they're getting engaged in surveillance where they live. License 7NTU201. They know exactly who I am, surrounding the perimeter with light activity. And the Ontario Airport flying over the street that I'm walking, documenting. 9JBC243. License 8TSV488. And stalking with light with their hazards in the middle of the dark street is 7GVA372 with the Ontario International Airport. This is a demon. This is a psychopath. This is what's flying, the plane flying in circles over my head under a 10-hour fake sun over the same entrance. 9FHY221, 8DES 219, and this is at what is 215. I'm going to document this address. I'm going to add it to the description box so you can see where the entity is engaging in what is facilitating domestic terrorism, and it is a basis for what is terrorism. You'll be prosecuted where you live. So I just want to point that out. This is at 215, I believe this is C Street. Let me get this real quick. All right, number 1. And I will get the street that I'm at right now. They are surrounding, so you have the demon that's in the van who was speaking Spanish. She's in front of me, and this demon that's over here at 215 was behind me. This is surrounding in the perimeter with light while the Ontario International Airport flies over, stalking in the path. This is that demonic synchronicity. This is tracking your steps. This is stalking with the element of light and presence. This is demonic, and it's also psychological torture and terrorism. It's also the outwardly exhibiting severe mental illness. I'm trying to capture this picture really quick. There you go, 215, so you can see the address. This is P.O.C. You'll see the picture of the image of the demon that has their hazard lights. They were behind me while I documented. You heard the Spanish speaking. They were in front of me, molesting me with light as I was coming around the corner. Already know where I'm going, tracking my steps surrounding. This is what the Ontario police are doing at 1:07 in the afternoon at the OVITT Family Community Library. They're going to federal prison for that as well. License 9GXZ364. The same OVITT Family Community Library where that Ontario Police Department were flying in circles for over 20 minutes under the 5:33 p.m. fake sun. 7PFE732 where the sun is not going to be at the same address like I documented on video from 1:07 to 5:30 p.m. And that same department is engaging in what is stalking by virtue of that evidence and much more than that. And they're engaging in a pattern of conduct shared by the people of the state. These are mentally demented psychopaths stalking one woman together, license 9MHK984, and they're all engaged in federal stalking under Title 18. This is I'm going to document this address, LKRS44, the entity sounding train activity. I have 4 shadows. That's train activity, which again, you can't actually hear the train. They're maintaining noise. Yeah, that's 215 F Street. And as I walk into the street to get that street sign, you'll hear that pop. That's stalking with noise. So is the train stalking with noise. And the people of the state are stalking with light. And they're all stalking in their homes because understand that this is surveillance by the state. And where your address is, you're maintaining criminal presence in an engineered environment to keep another person under surveillance. They're all stalking at their residences. All right, and that's exactly how the government's criminal system of surveillance is going to be prosecuted. This is F Street and Plum. And so this is documentation of what is the sex offense that you're committing where you live. Be prepared to be prosecuted. The demon-possessed are providing you a tutorial also as to how they're gang stalking you in their homes, where they will be prosecuted. 8W90879. License 9PSU228. Engineer light over all the demon-possessed homes while the people of the state cross path. License 6PW9912, I believe. License 7DXL822. License 91476E4. Maintaining the elements of monitoring, gang stalking in the neighborhood, 7VVR008. And license plate 7YCW180. And again, that address where the entity is maintaining light activity and stalking, this is where I'm located at the people of the state, third-party facilitating venue, 215 F Street in Ontario, California, 91762. And it's currently 8:59 p.m. This is where the entity is engaging in what is terrorism, where they live, and you're fully vulnerable to that prosecution. And I'm documenting it for that purpose, and it is shared with the whole neighborhood. They're all gang stalking in the same manner. Stalking with light activity in the engineered environment pursuant to the City of Ontario, following with commercial planes over the neighborhood, where there are no terminals at F Street and Plum from 2500 Airport Drive and 2900 Airport Drive. There is also no natural environment where the sun would remain over this street, which is again north of the OVITT Family Community Library where the entity kept the fake sun over me. It was never over 215 F Street today. Okay, it remained over me at 215 East C Street, actually, and the entity is engaging in what is gang stalking by residents, and doing so with knowledge that they're simultaneously keeping the evidence about their stalking conduct with the government under surveillance, and it is engaging in what is that ongoing pattern of conduct, okay? That's relevant to, again, the entity that is going to be prosecuted for their exhibited obsession and demonstrated mental illness in doing and engaging in that P.O.C. as an entity. 9JBC 243, in case I didn't read that one already. This is P.O.C. It's currently 9:01 p.m. So the Spanish-speaking demons that you heard gang stalking as I'm approaching, they're acting with the demons that were behind me that I just documented on F Street and Plum, and they're stalking in the path surrounding as they are tracking my steps, knowing exactly who I am. That's how you have that. And this is what the Ontario Police Department is gang stalking me with. All right, the Ontario Police is engaging in criminal monitoring, tracking my steps while the demon-possessed people of the state are tracking my steps, and this is a prosecution of a whole coven of demons. These are people that are in custody of children. They engage in sex rituals with children. They engage in molesting and raping children, trafficking children, exploiting children. They engage in sexually violating even adults, either people that cannot consent. They engage in what are sex rituals. They practice witchcraft, black magic, spell casting, even using gang stalking, which is demonic as well. This is relevant to, even the defamation is relevant to spell casting. Also, third-party facilitating venue 119. This would be 119 F Street. The same street. This is where this third party is coming from, gang stalking me with the demons surrounded with light. So I'm going to document this. They're in there monitoring and using this venue as a means of criminal presence in the path. Let me make sure, is this F Street or Plum? It is 119, and the fake moon is over me. This is always the case. So it is 119, yeah, F Street. F Street and Lemon is the intersection. Yeah, 119 F Street and 215 F Street. I will be documenting that. This is P.O.C. I do include details regarding my location, and it's not just that third party. It's not just that venue. It's the entire city. It's everybody in that neighborhood on that street, et cetera, et cetera. It's the government, the local government that's engaging in it. It's a statewide P.O.C. But I do like to pay attention to that specific address because I'm blowing the whistle in order to prosecute that third party. You have the entity that's engaging in this P.O.C. With children as well. So I want to make sure that that is included in the evidence. The entity is acting through every business, every household, every location, which are venues. 1119 on F Street. All right. It is currently 9:03 p.m. This is P.O.C. You have a fake church service going on in here? Yeah. It's definitely a fake church service when you've got the entity gang stalking outside of the doors and engineered light, maintaining presence in the path, and you don't have to come outside when you're monitoring with the communication device as well. The entity is engaging in gang conduct, and so their presence inside of that building is accomplishing the elements of monitoring, and they're also aware of what's going on outside. They're just in a building that says that it's an iglesia. It's an iglesia of El Diablo. That's Satan's sanctuary, and they're engaged in the criminal elements of monitoring. It does not matter what's the name on the building, in the same way it doesn't matter what your name is. I'm going to prosecute you. 8JQD653. The entity is surrounded with the perimeter of light, flying over the street. There is no terminal anywhere near Plum and F Street. This is how much the entity is stalking, and everybody's vulnerable to that prosecution. These demons in this fake church service, license 8SCK289. 9EVA 421. Molesting with light, acting with impunity, and you're going to go about and document as diligently as they are obsessively. So actually, I'm more diligent than they are obsessive. 6WKH827, 6RCC937, getting in his car right in time as he's walking by, coming out of what is 609. This is a building over here, gang stalking. That's a demon, okay? Close the door at the moment that I walk by. That's a demon in an African-American vessel, if you want to know. It doesn't matter what their race is. That's a demon-possessed person driving like a 1989 Honda Accord. License 9FXM555, 9LIW963, 8SSV957, 9CWT190. All right, what you are paying attention to is that the people of the state who are a demon-possessed population, you will recognize them, you will identify them abiding by a uniform code of conduct, a formula. License plate, 6EVL843. That's a demon. That's a female. She's a demon. She's mentally ill. License 3NEB347, 8VQH504, 6JVK081, 9LLY157, 9TOH745. License plate. Looks like CY46R45. 9SYC709, 6VNF573. And El Pescador, the Mexican grill, they're gang stalking. While the demons are in the parking lot outside, El Pescador is making money, stalking in the path, creating light activity. They're monitoring. License 9TUJ027. And this is what's so brilliant about the pattern of conduct. When I go to the next building next door, they're still gang stalking, just like the Ontario International Airport was, just the overstreet over here. They're still monitoring. The more documentation of the license plates. Oh, no. They're still stalking. Don't forget that plane activity, because they're still stalking right now. 8YAD327. Don't forget about that helicopter activity for 20 minutes over my head, because right now they're still stalking. 94234B4. Do not forget about the sun sitting over 215 EC Street, feet away from where I'm located right now. Never going to the state of Florida from 8 a.m. until 5:33 p.m. They're still stalking right now. 8GJV372. License 7HRJ692. This is the entity that is very much not there. Mental illness is pervasive. And this is, again, an inability to recognize that it is over. It's over, and you're going to prison. You're going to be prosecuted. You're going to have a criminal record as a sex offender and deported if you're an immigrant. The entity is engaging in that, and they're doing so in the face of it's going right on the internet. I mean, it's immediately going on the internet. You see how my system operates. It's going immediately on the internet. For the federal government to observe everything that I've been conducting on my own, and for them to aid in what is the documentation, and documentation is evidence, in case you didn't know that, with regard to evidence prosecuting this state of California. It's only the demons themselves that don't understand that when they fly over my head for 20 minutes. Guess who's going to federal prison? Every gang stalking police officer that I document, because there's no question about what the Ontario Police Department is engaged in. Every single last one. Because gang stalking police officers, they act in furtherance, reasonably resulting in murder and kidnapping. That's an unlawful threat, and that is too much of a threat, and you're going to prison for it. You're going to federal prison. You do not get into law enforcement to engage in stalking. And a law enforcement agency is not going to maliciously engage in and use a badge and abuse authority to engage in targeting American citizens. You're going to prison for that. That's a psychopath. That's deliberate. Satan is wearing the costume of police officers deliberately so that you can't recognize them, so that they can outspeak you and supersede you. That's not the reality. That's not how it's going to work. They're going to prison. License 6VXW049, I believe. Stalking at the light. License 8LGOD31. None of this is headlights. They're all stalking an engineer light. They're all stalking at the traffic lights. They're all stalking in the parking lot. They're all stalking in their businesses. They're all stalking in their home. This is fully gang stalking exposed. This is why you don't provide that body of evidence for a federal government to readily recognize how all of my evidence is corroborating what I already stated is the case. There is no reasonable basis to question, and nobody is. Everybody's looking at California, all these demons being exposed. Everybody's looking at it. The only ones that are denying it are the demons themselves, and they're delusional. They're mentally ill. Okay, it is currently 9:09 p.m. That's just another small little snippet of the population that is severely mentally disturbed. And that's going to be addressed in the prosecution of gang stalkers by default. You engage in gang stalking, you're going to be treated like a mental health patient, because that's what you are. P.O.C. All right, molesting. is license plate. Oh, the Ontario Police Department not helping this defendant. Going into Pizza Hut, stalking and molesting, license 9SPV711. And as I walk to the back to get the license plate, stalking with the police. This is a male, license 8MLF476. This is a Caucasian male with a dark facial hair, dark hair on the top of his head, and the Ontario police are flying right over the parking lot. That's P.O.C. Again, that's license 8MLF476. Stalking. Engaged in Title 18. I want you to hear this helicopter activity. License 9TID555. And also Pizza Hut itself at 715 North Euclid Avenue is gang stalking. They're engaged in targeting me as well. They're engaged in Title 18 federal stalking. They're targeting with the demons that are going into the Pizza Hut while they're crossing path monitoring with the Ontario police who are over the Pizza Hut flying over the parking lot. 9KBF607. They're going to prison, like I said. They are going to prison. So this is the entity literally falling from place to place in helicopter, flying over for 20 minutes. This is Tracy Banks' co-defendant. She's going to prison. EB59J12, and so is every other gang stalking police officer. Those two third parties acting together. This third party, she goes into Pizza Hut. She's molesting my person. And as I go to the back of her vehicle, like I narrated, this demon is already in position and immediately turns on his lights, molesting my person. These are sex offenders that are also obsessed with my vagina, that they're keeping under surveillance in bathrooms, okay? And they're doing so while I am publishing the evidence of it online. This is P.O.C. Just want to show you the Ontario Police following from the OVITT Family Community Library. Here's the fake moon, just so you can be sure. There's the fake moon over 715 North Euclid. And as I log on to Pizza Hut Wi-Fi, the Ontario Police are already here flying over the building in relevant position, stalking. Just like I've been documenting via podcast, people that say it's stalking, maintaining light activity at 215 F Street, maintaining stalking with light in the path, engineered light, not headlights that create that light activity, multiple shadows and whatnot. And the entity is stalking. These are demons that are pacing all around in engineered light. The entity is engaged in the pattern of conduct. This sex offender is molesting, right, as I'm standing in relevant position, engaged in Title 18 federal stalking. I believe she's not necessarily an employee, but she's gang stalking with the third party that I'm capturing in the parking lot. And he drives off as the Ontario police, they're circling. Because you can hear on the podcast that I've been documenting this, so I'm starting video right now. This is the entity stalking me, again, engaging in that pattern just like they were over the library, where the fake sun remained over this block today, and over the same entrance from 8 a.m. until 5:33 p.m., where they were flying over my head. License 9SPV711 is sharing in a sex offense with a third party that was parked right here. His license plate is on my podcast. It's currently 9:15 p.m. This is 715 North Euclid. Pizza Hut is monitoring with the employees and with the patrons. So she comes in engaged in the P.O.C. She's picking up a pizza. It's just like being at Starbucks. She's engaged, the people that stayed engaged in the P.O.C. under the fake sun that remains over the venue all day long. And then they're going in and purchasing a drink. This is the federal RICO case, okay? Every single business in California is gang stalking, engaging in surveillance. This is my shadow on the trash can, all right? And here's my shadow behind me, back here on the ground, where the Ontario police are stalking in the path, not helping the people of the state. Tracy Banks is going to federal prison, so is L. Edwards. So is A. Quesada, Escobar. They engaged in kidnapping. So are the employees at Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. They're engaged in state surveillance, and the entity's engagement in what is ongoing terrorism and harassment as they're being documented and it's being published on the internet is going to result in what is, they just flew next to the fake moon. That thing is not high up, it's low in the sky. They're engaging in the pattern of conduct, which is incriminating the people of the state. All right, this is P.O.C. It is currently 9:16 p.m., just to be clear, at the 320 West Street, that's the gym, where Nathan was engaging in harassment, and the entity flew over my head by helicopter while Nathan was engaging in harassing me as they are monitoring the evidence. This is stalking in the path of light. These are demons. And this is the population that's monitoring my vagina in bathrooms. Okay, license plate 5BZM786. This is the entity of the state of California. Okay, the mayor is being removed, the Ontario City Council, they're engaged in state surveillance together, the police, the fire department, and the international airport, the Ontario International Airport is gang stalking. It is currently right now, I just want to be clear, 9:17 p.m. This is P.O.C. Purchasing from a third-party facilitating venue is a criminal engagement in that.
and the entity is engaging in what is a ongoing sex offense, molesting with engineered light. This is demon just stalking in the past, just coming to fill up with water. This is currently, again, 9:17 p.m. P.O.C. at 715 North Euclid Avenue, Pizza Hut's gang stalking. Alrighty, it is, you can hear me recording still. I went into video because the entity is talking about helicopter. I get that because even though I have a wealth of evidence, and we're over at 90 videos since June 3rd, post the kidnapping that the entity engaged in via Tracy Banks, summoning this gang stalking police department, she's going to prison, and so are all of those officers that are not actually engaged in law enforcement. They're engaged in stalking, and the entity is following from the Ontario from the Ontario OVITT Family Community Library, and doing so while I'm documenting the people. And the people are subject to prison while the police engage in the criminal pattern of conduct, meaning you're confirming that they're stalking while you follow me from place to place, stalking in helicopter. And you're specifically stalking even in that video where you can see, I recited, you listening to it. The fake moon is over me. The entity had the fake sun over Family Community all day. Had the fake sun over me all day. The video of Alaska Airlines stalking at Stater Brothers, the fake sun's right over me. At 5 in the evening, the fake sun is still over me. Never departing from being in Ontario over me at one venue. That's literally one block in Ontario, California. It's never in Florida when it remained over my head as I documented. And that's where the Ontario police are gang stalking with, again, third-party license plate. This sex offender, again, her license plate is 9SPV711. All right, the entire plaza is engaging in that pattern of conduct. This is where Woodside Senior Apartments is located. This is where the demons off of Laurel, F Street, Fern, Vine, 7-Eleven at 636 North Vine Avenue. They're all engaged in the pattern of conduct together. So is all of traffic. This is just speaking to my location. And you have one demon after another that's present, stalking in the path, tracking your steps, maintaining light and maintaining presence together, okay? This is the entity where I'm at right now is not 7-Eleven, excuse me, Pizza Hut. And they're engaging in what is gang stalking while engaging what is making business off of the gang stalkers that come in and purchase. That's how they're just coming in and pacing around and stalking with light. And doing so with the police that's flying over the Pizza Hut as I'm present in that environment with the fake moon over me. It's 9:19 p.m. This is P.O.C. This is, I'm going to go ahead and document the demons that are in here also. This is how businesses are engaging in terrorism, by the way. This is what Ocean and all of them are doing while they're preparing their coffee drinks. And they're gang stalking me, stalking with activity, and while they prepare their drinks, monitoring me while I'm inside of the venue. They're doing so pursuant to demon possession. Demons have the ability to stalk you with noise. When they're not looking at you, when you're not even sharing and occupying a space together, close to whatsoever. And also the demons are engaging in this pattern of conduct while they are keeping all of the evidence under surveillance. This is an entity hovering over the ground. I'm capturing Ontario International Airport right now. There's no takeoff behind El Pescador. All right, this is the entity migrating north from where I was at, OVITT Family Community Library, and rising in elevation like they just took off from El Pescador right here at G Street and Euclid. And you already also have context because the Ontario police is stalking. This is ongoing aerial surveillance. This is Alan D. Wapner being removed as president over the airport authority, engaged in years of documented surveillance. And the airport authority is fully engaged in psychological torture, criminal monitoring with the state surveillance under federal stalking statute, Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2. And they're engaged in flying planes over Woodside Senior Apartments as well, hovering, again, flying much more west as though they're taking off over Woodside Senior Apartments. The asininity of what they're engaging in is plain. And by plain, I mean PLAIN, very obvious. And this is in concert with the Ontario Police Department. Okay, this is P.O.C. This is the entity. These are the mentally ill that are engaged in gang stalking, the demon possessed. This is mental illness, raw mental illness. Okay, and the mental illness is also identified through what is the provision of a wealth of evidence. There's no planes taking off over here. They're not even intelligent in that. They're clearly targeting. They're also clearly targeting under the fake moon. And the Ontario Police Department is clearly mentally ill while I'm documenting on a ceaseless basis, stalking by flying in circles over me, stalking and doing so with regard to the provision of obvious evidence of targeting, and doing so while also failing at being Tracy Banks's reliable co-defendant that could defame me and not look like you weren't stalking and lying about it the whole time. This is why the entity is flying over my head again. They're also obsessed with my vagina that they keep under surveillance while the people in the state that are stalking outside with light engage in stalking inside of venues with light and stalking in bathrooms with light. This is P.O.C. This is mental illness exposed, okay? This is mental illness
born by demon possession, and the entity is engaging in all manner of mania. And this is the national security threat, okay? State surveillance in the state of California, and this is the prosecution of the state of California. However, it's the disbanding of literally the deconstruction of the corrupt government in Ontario. So every level of government, every government authority, they're illegitimate. They're being removed. And the Ontario Police Department, I've documented tons and tons of them stalking me, and they're going to prison, every single last one of them. Every single last one, okay? Including the one that you saw gang stalking it was approximately 4 p.m. He's going to federal prison. At that same park, the Ontario Town Square, at 6:22 p.m. The entity is engaged in what is gang stalking, as I documented. There's no son that's still going to be there, like I documented. He's going to federal prison. If you'll recall my documentation, my collection of the Ontario Police gang stalking under a fake son, they're all going. Okay, and this is the entity engaging in what is surveillance, taking off above the El Pescador, which is at G Street and Euclid. All right, this is P.O.C. There's no 2500 terminal airport drive where they would have any sort of plane presence over the El Pescador. This is the entity engaging in what is stalking, plane stalking, just like the Ontario Police, plane stalking, and so are the people of the state. P.O.C. Alrighty, I just wanted to get that other video. The entity is engaging in what is maintaining aerial surveillance, and the entity is very much hostile. So this demon, this Caucasian male, going to the water machine is a means of stalking in the path. Very severe mental illness while they're engaging in this mania with regard to touching and surrounding with this engineered light. They're demons doing so. 883-66P3 with the Ontario Police Department flying in circles over the building, taking off in commercial planes over El Pescador. This is, again, the psychopathic and low level of intelligence while the entity is obsessively stalking. And as you document it, you can clearly see how the entity is merely just obsessed. And you're looking at what is lawlessness. You're looking at lawlessness. You're looking at the mentally ill that have been out and have been uncontrolled. They have been engaged in all manner of public corruption, and you're talking about the people that have been harmed by this population, by this corrupt government. When you're looking at that lawlessness that's exhibited by the government and by the government that's acting vicariously, those are the demon-possessed people of the state. Very sick population, very, very sick is what you're listening to and what you're looking at on video. This is gang stalking 101, all right? Tracy Banks is going to federal prison. That's the long and short of it, and so is Jason Isaac Fields, all right? This mother and son sex couple, they're going to prison. These psychopaths, very low intelligence, okay, very low intelligence, and they tried to use this to defame my character. They're going to prison, and they're also going to be embarrassed for even trying to pull this over me. Okay, the entity necessarily had to do it behind my back. I'm aware of it, and so that's why I'm exposing it. The entity is engaging in what is gang stalking with a bunch of demons that are exposing them. They're exposing, this is the entity exposing Tracy Banks. This is the entity exposing Jason Isaac Fields. It is currently 9:25 p.m. This is P.O.C. 8ZRK886, in case I didn't document that demon. P.O.C. All right, molesting with light. This is another sex offender at 715 North Euclid Avenue. That's 9SHU 649. There's no mystery about what any of them doing while the airport and the police department are gang stalking in the sky space. And everybody else that I documented at 215 F Street, at 119 F Street, at the El Pescador, the entire parking lot, that they're all gang stalking from place to place as well. Yeah, I'm gonna order right now. Hold on. What time is it? 9:28? Yeah, okay, P.O.C. I'm going to take a picture of the interior of the Pizza Hut because the entity has impossible light swimming just like it does across Starbucks. While the entity, that's impossible light activity, while you're even pulling up in a parking space, light is not swimming, which would be in the direction west across the lower bar counter. That's impossible light for purposes of gang stalking by the establishment and those in the establishment, apart from the gang stalkers that are surrounding outside. It's the prosecution of that company. That's what's happening while I'm inside in Pizza Hut's engaged in terrorism. It's 9:29 p.m.
can I stand for you? What can I stand for you? Lunch supreme? With pepperoni, pork, beef, green pepper, onions, mushrooms?
All right, so I did complete a transaction online at 9:44 p.m. and at the same time, this is when Impossible Light is moving to the east along the lower cabinet inside of Pizza Hut. That's Impossible Light activity. And this heavy-set African or African-American male enters in, making a purchase from Pizza Hut, gang stalking, and doing so. This is relevant to, again, that RICO case, the people of the state monitoring with the businesses, and they're doing so pursuant to federal stalking online. And this is terrorism that I'm subject to that Pizza Hut is inflicting upon me. And I'm also at Pizza Hut with the helicopter activity, the plane activity, the molestation in the parking lot, the demons pacing all around. Pizza Hut at 715 North Euclid Avenue is engaging in that. License 9PGB811, and you will see this African male's face while he's standing in engineer light inside of the cafe, inside of the restaurant, P.O.C.
What order were you waiting for?
I just made one online.
Oh, you just did?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is literally stalking inside of the restaurant. This is exactly what they're doing inside of the Starbucks, inside of the library. Literally criminal monitoring and stalking inside of establishments, which is what you're going to prosecute for. The business, the people inside of the business, and the people of the state that are patrons at the venue. Gang stalking with the government. That provides evidence against all of that by stalking there in planes and helicopters, fire trucks, ambulances, and police vehicles. It is currently 9:48 p.m. This is operation of the communication device monitoring, P.O.C. All right, also license plate 9KBF607. I want to make sure I read that license plate. And while I'm documenting Saul and the names of the people that are ordering from Pizza Hut, the Ontario Police is outside flying over in helicopter. All right, and this is, again, evidence against the corporation Pizza Hut that's engaged in the same federal RICO case with the state of California that is engaged in state surveillance. This is 715 North Euclid Avenue. You can hear the helicopter activity. This is an engineer light. So molesting me inside of the Pizza Hut, doing so with simultaneity to my completion of an online transaction, doing so while the Pizza Hut employees are in relevant position, doing so while the patrons of Pizza Hut, who are all, both of them are the people of the state, both the employees and the patrons, and they're all demons. And they're doing so in the specific environment. Pizza Hut's under the fake moon. Pizza Hut is present in the state, in the presence with the state. Pizza Hut is present while demons are engaging in surveillance in the parking lot outside of Pizza Hut, where Pizza Hut is making money off of gang stalking me. And as I exit the venue, I'm subject to terrorism by the police department that Pizza Hut is gang stalking me with. All right, this is, again, 715 North Euclid Avenue. This is the prosecution. The ongoing federal case, the legal analysis is the same. It is an elaborate case, but the legal analysis is already provided. I've already prosecuted this case. It will be a prosecution for a federal RICO case against the state of California. Every business in California is engaged in this pattern of conduct, and the entity is doing so with knowledge, meaning kept my evidence under surveillance, and that's what's inspiring the repeated kidnappings, because I became aware of it and I started documenting it, and the entity immediately started kidnapping. Also engaged in kidnapping, not only to obstruct justice, but to defame my character, which is aiding in things such as secret and fake conservatorships and fake marriages, while the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct. The entity is going to be subject to a federal RICO case. I will prosecute every company, the corporations themselves, and their gang stalking employees. All right, it is currently 9:51 p.m. P.O.C. All right, Josh Prado. He is gang stalking with license plate number. He's gang stalking with the Ontario Police, molesting with impossible light activity, engaged in federal stalking with Pizza Hut as well, 8EWW091. You'll see impossible light activity on the side of the vehicle. This vehicle that I took a picture of, it's just light that's just sitting on the side of the car. It has nothing to do with headlights. This is the entity that's just hitting objects with light. The entity is engaging in this inside of the I keep wanting to say Starbucks, but Starbucks is exactly what you saw this pattern of conduct occurring at, and it's the same exact conduct at a different company name. Okay, so Pizza Hut. Fill in the blank with Starbucks if that helps you understand it, because they're doing the exact same thing with the exact same actors on a helicopter at it's the exact same P.O.C. That is, again, Josh Prado. His phone number is 626-714-8176, and that is his license plate. He is gang stalking and present at, what is the current time? 9:59 p.m. also on cameras. Engaging in federal stalking with the company Pizza Hut, okay? And this is a co-defendant of the Ontario Police gang stalking me with the Ontario Police Department. It is currently 9:59 p.m. This is P.O.C. at 715 North Euclid Avenue. All right, I want to document, it's the entire venue, but this is where the entity is gang stalking by going to the facilitating venue. This is 723 North Euclid Avenue. The people of the state gang stalking by going to the water machine, okay? Doing the same thing at the Bank of America teller. And this is with the Ontario Police that are surrounding me by the people of the state gang stalking together. License 8RNM 693. This is P.O.C. And it's currently 10:02 p.m. This is reporting the venues where the people of the state are gang stalking and their customers are evidence of the company's criminal engagement in the P.O.C. as I document my presence. That's, again, 723 North Euclid Avenue, the Aqua Suprema. Selling water, so everybody's going to buy water to maintain presence in the path. All right, it is currently, again, let me give you that time, 10:02 p.m. All right, it is currently 10:48 p.m. I completed processing my podcast, which included that video that you can hear me recording. The entity, the Ontario Police Department in particular, continues with plane and helicopter, and the helicopter is still continuing to fly over me, and the entity is engaging in what is stalking from place to place and maintaining this ongoing, incessant cycling around while I'm located, and doing so as I publish the evidence on the venue of the internet. So this is at the TABOR Professional Building. I want to document it. The entity does resume the moment that I begin processing the podcast. And then as I document, the entity, I guess the theory of a stalker that's caught stalking is to just keep stalking, and that's supposed to be evidence that they're not stalking when they keep stalking, when you state that they're stalking you, which you prove with evidence. So the entity has continuously remained with the helicopter activity, which you can hear. Remember who was stalking? The demon in vehicle number 1076 of the Ontario Police Department. They're gang stalking at the Ontario Town Square under the fake sun. He is going to federal prison. That's a Caucasian male. He's going to federal prison. The Ontario Police Department is gang stalking at the Starbucks yesterday morning. It's the same L. Edwards and A. Quesada that engaged in kidnapping on July 4, 2025. Those two are going to federal prison. So is Escobar, who engaged in kidnapping on July 4th with Edwards, okay? And the people of the state at Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue are also subject to federal prison. And I want to be clear, that's for kidnapping. But I want to be clear, pursuant to the federal policy, this is disincentivizing criminal summoning in the first place, which is a threat to violate your liberty by kidnapping. This is how gang stalking police officers commit kidnapping when they're targeting you. For the Ontario Police to reference Starbucks personnel as the one who called them to the venue to remove me, this is including Matt and Francie at 706 West Holt Boulevard and all the employees. That's a basis of federal prison. Everybody that was at work at 9:53 a.m. on July 5th, 2025. I want to make sure that that's clear as well. The evidence surrounding both of those Starbucks cafes is very much complete. Years of evidence against the corporation and against the practices, the pattern of conduct, which is fully established amongst the people of the state working at the venue and the people of the state patronizing by being at the venue gang stalking with the Ontario Police, who you hear still stalking by helicopter. Okay, this is the pattern of conduct. This is the entity that's clearly stalking, and there's no controversy about what Tracy Banks sought to engage in and who she's doing it with. She's gang stalking her daughter. She did so because she wanted to steal money from me. She's doing so with the population that thought that they would never be caught, engaging in targeting, that it could never be proven. Not only is it proven, the entity is proving that it is mentally deranged and very dangerous to the public while engaging in things such as stalking me in helicopters for 20 minutes at a time everywhere in the city that I go. I documented this overnight last night at the TABOR Professional Building. I documented it today at the Ontario OVITT Family Community Library. I documented it tonight at the Pizza Hut at 715 North Euclid Avenue, and I'm documenting it again at the TABOR Professional Building. I've been documenting this routinely since the kidnapping that Tracy Banks engaged in with the people of the state. She engaged in the same iteration of the pattern of conduct with the Ontario Police that the Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue engaged in, pursuant to the intent to obstruct justice, okay? The Ontario Police is the ability to prosecute the people. The government's gang stalking is directly getting to the people of the state, which is what I stated years ago when I began focusing the documentation on the people of the state who are gang stalking vicariously on behalf of the government that is practicing federal group stalking and monitoring, i.e. gang stalking. Okay, it is highly unintelligent, and it is exhibited by obvious video documentation of flying in circles over an American citizen for 20 minutes. It's that obvious. So this is, again, no competition. It's no controversy. And there's also no question in court. All those engaged in stealing my money, stealing my property, defaming my character, there is not one aspect of me that is less than up to par. Just to be, and not to brag or anything, but the entity literally made up information, and as I'm documenting psychopaths, it's laughable to me. But this is unfortunate, because this is what happens to American citizens that don't have I don't want to say address, that don't have access to evidence, proof, the ability to demonstrate that you're being targeted, because the thesis is always going to be, who are you? Why are you so important to be targeting? And that's, again, the premise, a false premise, and it's that which the entity is relying on. You see how important I am. They keep a fake sun over me all day long. They keep a fake moon over me all night. They are stalking and molesting me in bathrooms. They use planes and helicopters to follow me around. They make up information just to engage in what is having me taken into custody by a police department that follows me around in helicopters, like I documented today on another day. 3 different locations, stalking me in helicopters. That's traditional stalking, by the way. And it's gang stalking at that, under the fake sun and in the engineered light, and at nightfall, including the fake moon. This is the entity that's engaging in Title 18. It's relevant to what is the activation of my use of my communication device, and that is the straightforward evidence that's provided against Tracy Banks, who does not have any hope in court, none whatsoever. She has been engaged in targeting me since I was a child, with the government, by the way, and she engaged in, as I'm an adult, waging an ongoing campaign against my character, unbeknownst to me, and upon becoming aware of the fact that I was targeted, documenting it in order to prove it, and finding out all the ways that she has been seeking to, and why she's been seeking to defame me for money. Okay, and the entity not only is not getting money, you can hear them. You are looking at the wealth of evidence of stalking by a police department, which is unprecedented domestic terrorism. And this is who Tracy Banks should not have ever teamed up with, because they are literally putting her in prison. She's not getting out. She's going to expire in a cell. Okay, it's currently 10:54 p.m. and it's the same. The gang stalking police, you need to understand that L. Edwards was gang stalking me. That's how the police engage in gang stalking. And they're going to federal prison. So with these videos that I'm publishing, I'm going to put, so that you can recall the iteration of kidnapping by this department that's been targeting me for years. On May 29th, I want you to look at and listen to everything that they were stating, because they were lying. It was audible activity at the specific environment. At Woodside, the fake sun rises and sets. The body of evidence is already demonstrating that since 2019, by the way. And not only that, the entity engaging in what is keeping the fake sun over Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue from sunrise until sunset. And that's where the entity engaged in criminal summoning, making up information in order to substantiate why I have to be removed from an establishment, because a business is not typically one that's going to advertise, oh, we just engage in what is targeting people, just kicking them out for no reason, even though that's exactly what Starbucks at 706 West Holt did. And that's exactly what L. Edwards conceded, that they did after I purchased a drink, nothing happened, and they just wanted to kick me out for no reason. That's exactly what you hear in the video. It's not for no reason. It's because the entity is aware of the evidence that's very damning, and they're scared to death of it. They're scared. I don't say anything to them. I capture my documentation, and the demons start trembling. I kid you not. They start trembling, and then the police arrive, engage in what is making up information, and they're not bright. They're not smart. Okay? I'm just being honest with you. The intelligence quotient is very, very low. The intelligence quotient is exceedingly low. And so this is why when you hear me conversing with them and I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And this is, again, me just entertaining them in their false universe, okay, because they're exercising authority that they don't actually have under the law. They're gang stalking. I already know that, but I'm operating before they're federally prosecuted, before it's on the news, before it's exposed about everything that the entity's been doing and why it's been doing it. But the intelligence quotient is very low. And so the inability to make sense of why they do the things that they're doing based on under facts where they're feigning as though they're not targeting me, okay? That's the entity that's engaging in that. And to do so in the ways in which I've shown, it's blatant stalking, and it's showing why any American citizen is subject to what is targeting by the government. The government targets American citizens to steal inheritances from them, to steal large sums of money from them, to steal opportunities from them, to destroy their lives. And I want to be clear, the demon-possessed will do so for any reason. And I also want to make something else abundantly clear. Because I had a gang-stalking demon sitting on a bench asking me a question that's legally irrelevant and biased. And it's not the responsibility of any plaintiff that brings a case against a stalker. Why do you think they're stalking you? That's not your question to answer. Nor do you have to answer that when you're submitting the evidence of them stalking you. Because that's all that the law requires. Now, the entity is doing so, and why would you do that? Because the entity wants to falsely depict your character when the government is targeting you, and it has yet to be proven that this is what the government is routinely engaged in. And so the starting premise is, oh yeah, basically, why are you so important? Why would they be doing that to you? Why do you think that is? And it's an inappropriate question, and it's biased. It's prejudicial. Okay, this demon, Thomas Garza, is the one that evaded service of process is the one that posed that question to me, and it's entirely inappropriate. But I just want to point that out. The entity is proven to be stalking. And I am so important that they're stalking in planes and helicopters. I am so important that they set up structures and construction sites to maintain the elements of monitoring everywhere that I go and where I might go. I am so important that they maintain surveillance everywhere that I'm going, traffic all night long to make sure that they're manning the path. I am so important that they want to steal money that belongs to me, and they're not getting a dime. And everybody that already stole, guess where they're going? They're going to prison. Eric Corey Spencer is going to federal prison. Bearing false witness about my character, his sister, who he knows is not mentally ill. I'm not a prostitute, never have been anything remotely close to that, not even promiscuous. Okay? And I'm not judging anybody else in their lifestyle. I'm just speaking about the fact of my life and how that overweight demon, that lying, demon-possessed gang stalker acting with his demon-possessed mother for money. And he's not even getting it, and he's going to federal prison. All right? Him and his Shacky. If his live-in girlfriend lied about me, she's going to federal prison. I don't even know his girlfriend's name. But if she lied about me, she's going to federal prison. This entity engaged in this pattern of conduct with the intent to steal. And their own co-defendant, the government themselves, are providing evidence against them. This is why they were lying in court. And guess what? The plan failed because the demons can't control themselves. And I'm getting video after video of 20 minutes of flying in circles over my head everywhere that I go. Okay, the entity's engaging in what is clear targeting, and the entity's been targeting me as I've been documenting it as a matter of evidence since 2018. All right, and the entity is doing so. Not only is Eric Spencer going to federal prison, but Tracy Banks is going to federal prison. That's an automatic. And so is her sex partner, Jason Isaac Fields. The people of the state whose name I know, for example, any of those that Tracy Banks has recruited who have been in court behind my back in hearings that I know nothing about regarding property that I had never heard anything of. And they're in court bearing false witness about my character regarding property that none of them talked to me about things that we have never talked about and that they've never witnessed me do. They lied and made everything up. While they were gang stalking me the whole time, betting that I was going to be dead already, and I'm not going anywhere. That includes Shanita Ramaya McClain. If this demon-possessed, duplicitous third party said anything defamatory in any court concerning me, she's going to federal prison. I just want to be clear, she's already subject to federal prison. My policy with regard to prosecuting this system that has never been exposed before, I advocate federal policy for the people of the state that are in the lives of the target individual, because that's the inside for the government to take you out. That's how the government has involvement in the details and the intimate aspects of your life. And you go to federal prison for that. Okay? But even aside from that, I'm going to put it like this. If you sat in court, you know who you are. You demons are sitting up listening to my podcast and watching me on YouTube. You're looking at my website. You're scared to death about what you're seeing progress. You should be concerned because your co-defendant, the Ontario Police, is adding evidence against you. And I want to be clear. If you sat in court and you lied on my character, get ready to go to prison because that's where you're going. You're going to federal prison. All right? It is currently 11:01 p.m. The TABOR Professional Building is where the Ontario Police maintain ongoing helicopter activity the entire time I was processing my podcast. That's relevant to federal stalking. Maintaining audible activity, relevant positioning, and light activity. The demons who are the people of the state, you know what they're doing. You can see my shadow on the street sign that's like 25 steps away from me. I have multiple shadows on the sidewalk and upright on the wall. The demons are stalking under a fake moon. The entities engage in ongoing surveillance while using helicopter, which is the highest form of a threat posed by that entity, because the police represent those that are exercising authority under the law to take your life and then give an explanation that nobody's going to question. And that's why gang stalking police officers are going to federal prison. Mandatory, okay? Non-negotiable. It is currently 11:01 p.m. This is P.O.C. at the TABOR. You cannot not document these demons. The entity just flew over for like 25 minutes in helicopter. Yes, they're all stalking. CF22Y97, paper. 636 North Vine Avenue, the 711, 7MGX197, and it's currently 11:08 p.m. and they're all on surveillance cameras, gang stalking. 8 VSW 407 P.O.C. Sorry, here's a pulling up license, one after another. That's what I'm saying. Right out the license plate, 5VML 906. No shortage of demons willing to accept the federal case. That's already concluded. The P.O.C. That's the Ontario International Airport gang stalking with the people of the state who are molesting my person, just like they were at Stater Brothers, where Alaska Airlines was stalking under the 7 a.m. fake sun over my head this morning, and the Ontario Police gang stalking under the 5:30 p.m. fake sun. And this is the pattern of conduct of stalking with light sources above me all day long. And that's not the sun that would be above one person all day long. That one person that stays in one city and basically, essentially one place. I just went up Holt Boulevard, went right back to the library. And that's where the entity is stalking by plane and helicopter. And while the people of the state are driving on the street, just like they were at Stater Brothers this morning, they were hitting my person, hitting me with engineered light. And that's what they're doing tonight, too. Hitting me with engineered light. These are the sex offenders that are going to be prosecuted, and they're going to federal prison because they engage in kidnapping with the police department that you just heard flying over me. I guess the Ontario police are helping. Maybe they've decided to throw the case. They don't have a case in the first place, but perhaps because why would you give that level of evidence? I don't even think you can ask them why. But the entity is engaging what is monitoring me, hitting my body with engineer light, which headlights don't do that. And this is exactly what the entity was doing with the airport this morning at the Ontario Village Shopping Center at Stater Brothers, where the fake sun was over me. And while the entity is still gang stalking, nowhere near any airport terminals. You're not going to hear it. You're not going to see it if they're taking off from 2500 Airport Drive. So it is very, very plain. And not only that, PLAIN, plain, but not only that, there's no light that's going to be hitting my person while the people are driving on the street. And that is the same criminal pattern of conduct that the airport, the city of Ontario, engaged in this morning under the fake sun at, like I documented during the 7 a.m. hour. It's the pattern of conduct. All right, the entity that likes to touch with light, stalking with light, that's the outward demonstration of mental illness, very demented by stalkers, admitted stalkers. You might as well just wear a label on your forehead and say, I'm your gang stalker, because that's exactly what that evidence means. And it's incriminating a whole city and the government. But nonetheless, this is the entity that is stalking, flying over 325 West G Street with planes, flying over me from place to place in helicopters, and this is where the entity is stalking with light. That's the direct and vicarious engagement in gang stalking, that are the stalkers, the people, and the stalkers, the city of Ontario. It's currently 11:23 p.m. The demon-possessed are hostile now because I documented them stalking me with a helicopter for over 20 minutes. After they're the psychopaths that decided to do that, and then they engage in what is abuse with engineered light because they're embarrassed as I am baffled by their stupidity. That's what it is, especially with regard to a federal case. That's the lack of any legal strategy. That is fatal. That's prosecutorial suicide. But these are the demons that sought to gang stalk me and thought that I was going to look a certain way. No, I look like I am going to have a slam dunk in federal court. It's currently 11:24 p.m. This is P.O.C.